Howdy, everyone. I'm gonna be reviewing the tech class playtest, or overviewing it. This is first impressions with my partner,
Hi.
because we play Starfinder together, and it loves the mechanic specifically.
Yes, with Starfinder 1E, I played Mechanic a lot, and I greatly adore it. So I want to see how it changes in the second edition, mostly.
It said a versatile martial,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was a spellcaster in 1E, right?
In 1E, it more functioned as similar to the 2E inventor, like Pathfinder 2E inventor, where you had a invention of sorts that you focused on, such as a robot,
I remember looking at that, yeah. It was kind of like,
So I do wonder how they're gonna change it, because if it was just an inventor, while I would be, happy about it.
I fucking love construct innovation.
Look, it was fun in Starfinder 1E. I do wonder how it changes here, because I kind of hope that it's basically just a more futuristic inventor. If they take that route, if they take an entirely different route, I'll look forward to it.
I, for one, hope it's not Inventor, because I don't find Inventor particularly exciting.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
Alright, as for how this is going to work, I'm going to be reading through it. I won't read every word, but I'm probably going to read a whole lot of uninterrupted blocks of text, and my partner will interrupt me.
You didn't have to call me out there.
Okay. So the tech class playtest. This playtest presents two new classes for Starfinder, the Mechanic and the Technomancer. The Mechanic is a versatile martial class that modifies tech gear while commanding a neural network called an exocortex, which allows them to control a robot companion, turret, or explosive mines. So you can have a little buddy that moves, a little buddy that stands still, or bombs.
I think that is actually similar to 1E. I will admit I haven't played it in years, but I remember there was something similar to that.
The Technomancer is a prepared spellcaster who's fluent in a magical programming language, their bachelor's degree.
Shut up.
They can use to overclock their gear, cast powerful magic hacks, and customize their spells. The Mechanic and Technomancer will appear in an upcoming sourcebook for Starfinder. I did see that they've been leaking Galaxy Guide pages, because they're like in that
Part of the playtest?
that part of editing.
Oh shit.
So I'm excited to see it this
This
August. I mean, it's only
midnight.
There's our midnight alarm. All right. How to play test. I already know all this stuff.
Rat.
All right. This is Quig. Born to a poor family on Akaton, Quig grew up tinkering with any tech he could get his hands on. He built a trusty robot companion, a drone named Scout, using junk scrounged from a corporate worksite. I feel like corporate doesn't do a lot of hard labor. Anyway, after a chance encounter changed his life, Quig became a galactic bounty hunter with Scout at his side. Recently, Quig installed Scout's final upgrade, True Intelligence. Now Quig and Scout adventure together as equals, and Quig upgraded his exocortex with a few new tricks of his own, a deployable turret. I like that he has a bomb strapped to his chest.
You never know when you might need to blow yourself up.
Literal SpongeBob. Alright, here's our Mechanic.
Okay.
When it comes to tech, your understanding is unmatched. You're constantly crafting and modifying gear, whether that's computers, explosives, tools, weapons, or items of your own design. You've constructed a sophisticated exocortex, a custom neural implant linking your own mind to your most complex creation. A robot companion, a weapon turret, or a remote mine. I love linking my mind to my bombs.
All I can think of is just mind blast.
Like the scene from Watchmen where Mr. Blue goes. If something's broken or needs breaking, you're the one. Is that a reference to the Matrix?
Or one that is bad.
Here's an 8 HP intelligence marshal. God, we don't have enough of those already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that seriously. I love intelligence marshals.
Yeah, I mean, you saw how much I play intelligence characters.
Alright, looks like they're going to be high perception with decent saves outside of will. Training computers, crafting, and then 6 other skills since you're doing your key attribute probably to max. Not too bad on skills there.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, martial, light, medium, and a class DC. During combat encounters, use your exocortex to control mines, set up turrets, or command a drone. You're always ready with the right tactics and gear, and you alter your gear at a moment's notice. During social encounters, this section is noticeably shorter than the others. You might think things through before speaking. Oh wow, that's crazy. Or bring up specific details that others miss, or talk to your drone. That's what I do with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know, funnily enough, in Starfinder 1, to give a little story, my character was obsessed with his drone.
Oh, of course.
He talked to it all the time. Little bolito, little fly.
That's cute. Alrighty. Well, exploring, you make the best use of your gear, always considering where you might place your mines, turret, or drone. In downtime, you can craft and retrain. Is it going to be inventor again? You might carry extra gear to cover different situations, have a unique way of interacting with technological creatures and devices, and enjoy finding unexpected uses for your equipment. Others probably take note of how much attention you give to your gear, don't understand how all your stuff works, and assume you know best with strange tech. Class features, normal stuff. Key terms, we already know what flourishes, but mod. Actions with this trait are special customizations that change how items work. Use the modify action to apply customizations or mods. This action has the manipulate trait. So, this isn't a nested trait, this is just saying the modify action has the manipulate trait, which I'm sure we'll get to later.
I'm sure there's other interactions that need mod traits.
Alright. Custom rig. You begin with a specialized toolkit that weighs 1 bulk and counts as both a commercial repair toolkit plus one of the following of your choice: a commercial hacking toolkit, commercial infiltrators toolkit, or commercial makers toolkit. You can use your rig with 1 hand if you're wearing it, or 2 hands if you're holding it. Whenever you purchase one of the listed toolkits, or a higher grade version of one of the listed ones, you can spend 10 minutes integrating that into your custom rig, which grants it the properties and does not increase the bulk. It can't be sold or used by another creature. I'm really hoping that, I don't think it's reasonable, and I don't think they're going to do this, but I think it would be really cool if there was support for two-handing a toolkit. Like me running around on the battlefield typing away at my keyboard while my drone does stuff. That would be so cool.
It would be cool if you could two-hand your tool to
whack.
To basically give, kind of like how, funnily enough, inventors can give out more of their actions for their, inventions. Something like that would be interesting, where you give out a use of realistically a weapon two-handing, you're saying.
Yeah.
For additional bonuses.
I'm guessing that it's probably not going to do that because it would be, frankly, overcomplicated.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's going to be you wear your rig and you keep one hand open and you use a weapon in the other. But I'm really hoping that as we get into this, there are benefits for two-handing your toolkit, because I just think that's such an awesome fantasy.
I mean, at the very least, if it isn't a thing, I really doubt the homebrewing community ain't going to let that one slide.
Oh, yeah. You can, bump a damage die here or there or whatever.
Yeah, and I think it would be fun. One thing I do wonder... Oh god, we're like those Silk Song people that just have 9 seconds of thing and spend minutes
Welcome
at a time.
to Nintendo Direct. Here's 9 seconds of footage. A 30-minute moss bag video.
But specifically for the custom rig, it would be cool if there was a reason to have all the toolkits. I really doubt there is. I know it's a flavor thing, but it would be fun to have a reason to have the other toolkits. Besides literally just hacking and infiltrators.
I didn't even realize that you can integrate all of them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't only hold 2. It just starts with only 2. So that means you can have a 1 bulk equipment that's a repair kit, a hacking kit, an infiltrator's toolkit, and a maker's toolkit.
I do like it, though. Even if it is going to end up being more flavor than anything, I do like it because it fits the idea of a mechanic.
I wouldn't even necessarily say it's flavor. I feel like if you have this much investment in it as like a base class feature, it'll probably push you towards trying to use that. And particularly, we saw in our playtest that hacking was super overpowered.
To be fair, you could hack with 30 feet with a single ancestry feat.
This is true.
Which
but like
might not have helped there.
Yeah, Android was a little crazy. All right. Let's stop podcasting and keep going here. Modify. Your custom rig allows you to customize items on the fly, increasing their effectiveness or versatility for a limited time with a modify action. As an action with manipulate, as long as you're holding or wearing your custom rig. Interact to draw, retrieve, or swap an item, then add one of the mods listed below to it. The item remains modded until the start of your next turn, but the effects end early if you use it again, or if the item is destroyed or leaves your possession. So this is a same turn buff to a single item, but you get to draw the item as part of it.
Yeah, this smells like Alchemist to me. Like
Big boom.
Pre-remastered Alchemist to me so far.
Well, let's see. When you modify an item, you can apply one of the following effects of your choice, or any other mod you know. Some mods can only be applied to items of specific types, or items with certain traits. These requirements are listed in parentheses. A selected mod lasts as long as the item is your modded item.
Okay.
And then it also runs out at the start of your next turn. I don't know why it says... I guess that's to... So then if you modify one item, modify a second item, the first one stops as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's one... This is basically an action to set something up for the turn.
Yeah.
You can modify a grenade or area weapon to increase its radius by 5 feet. It's 5 feet, but burst, cone, or 10 feet in a line. Grenade or weapon to bypass 5 hardness or 5 plus raising value hardness. You can make a grenade or weapon non-lethal. You can give your base land speed hover, which lets you use your land speed, up to 5 feet above a surface. A grenade or ranged weapon gets an extra 10 feet as a grenade, or 30 feet if it's a ranged weapon, so probably a gun. And you can reduce a glitching condition by 1 if it's just any item, a drone exocortex or a turret exocortex. Initial impressions is this is not great. I mean, it's tiny little things. I'm guessing that's because this is already on top of we haven't gotten to the main thing yet, which is the exocortex. This is extra.
This feels like extra. I will say, funnily enough, I feel like in Pathfinder, having raising or going past hardness wasn't really a thing you cared about. But I think specifically in Starfinder,
with guns being so weak.
Yeah, that might honestly be something nice to have something. So Bunker Buster would be pretty good. I do also like the use of long range propulsors. As much as usually giving increased range isn't that good, I still think spending an extra action to not have to get 30 feet closer, especially in such a long range combat.
It's reach spell, but for guns.
Yeah, and specifically, it can help reduce a -2 that you could possibly get. I think it's pretty good, especially since it's just something you always get.
Yeah.
Now it depends
I think
on
the
how
main
good the
thing.
stuff is.
I think the main thing in my mind is that it's an action.
Yeah.
But I will also note, it is an action that includes an interact. So it's essentially this is a bonus to your interact action rather than in my mind I'm viewing it as this is a modified, whenever you interact you also get a buff rather than its own action here, even though mechanically it's its own action. Functionally in the game it's you get a buff to items when you interact with them.
The one thing...
which I think is cool, and it incentivizes interacting with items constantly. I'm just not too impressed with the list of benefits because they're, you know, they have to be conservative with things like this. Troubleshoot is very strong. Just automatic removal is great. Long range propulsors, I think, is pretty decent. Magnetic levitators is definitely like super thematic, being able to just like press a button on your armor and float across or whatever. But like non-lethal without taking the -2, but it's still not super impressive. I guess that you can also do it with a grenade, but they don't do a lot of damage either. Bypassing hardness is cool, but it doesn't come up a whole lot. I think what came up more in playtesting was resistances to laser.
I think
with
specifically, I like it just being there because the time you will need it, having literally a mechanic go, oh yeah, let me just quickly modify this thing to punch through that a bit easier. It's nice and thematic as like an extra thing, so I like it there. I do think it's not that good.
Also, the fact that it's 5 hardness flat. That's level 1 shield. And then Big Boom, I think, exemplifies the like viewing it as a buff to interact the most, because you can't like quick bomber it because this is its own action, but you use modify to pull out the grenade you would have used in interact anyway, and you can just give it a little bit extra radius or a little bit of hardness bypass. You can make it incap or a little bit further.
I do look forward to how the feats interact with this, because I know specifically in Starfinder there's a lot of feats that combine things. So I'm wondering how they might do it with the modify. Because that's what interests me
because they
the
set
most.
up here as well that you can get more modifications. It is also interesting that they're mostly grenade. Or like almost all of them include grenade.
Which means that more likely you can kind of dump decks a little bit and just focus fully on int with grenades and area fire. Like I believe one of the magic...
Soldier.
Yeah, Soldier does that.
Soldier gets to just only focus on area fire. Although they don't have to. Skier was pretty good. Alright. Let's get into the exocortex. I think this is the meat and potatoes of the class. You constructed a sophisticated program of self-motivated code synchronized with your brain, which you can use to remotely control a complex device of your own design. This program and its linked device are collectively called an exocortex. At first level, choose one, and you can modify it in unique ways. You can do a drone. See robot companions for more information. Alright, sure. Some talented engineers construct artificial companions that they can remotely command, called robot companions. They are animal companions with a few changes. They're artificial constructs, so you get construct, robot, and tech traits. Lose the animal trait. They get 2 actions if you command them. It can't be healed, but it can be repaired. That is a big downside, especially with how easy healing is with like a mystic. If it's destroyed, you can repair it as part of daily prep. That's pretty decent, because that means you can just jettison it into dangerous situations.
Yeah, I mean, that's what robots are for, you know?
Your robot companion is immune, and familiars, is immune to bleed, death, disease, doomed, drained, fatigued, healing, mental, non-lethal, paralyzed, poison, sicken, spirit, vitality, and void. Weakness to electricity, half level rounded up. And any size increases it would gain as a result of advancement are optional, not mandatory. Huzzah! They learned from form spells. It begins with 1 commercial customization of your choice and can gain additional ones from feats. Interesting.
Called drones. Okay. So I'm guessing they also are
types.
introducing robot companions as well as drones, since they're introducing it as a separate thing, which is
Drone
kinda cool.
types are detailed on page 16. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead to page 16 just to take a quick glance at what they have here. Oh, right back here. Okay, robot companions. So you would be able to choose between any of these. That's just the same rules again.
Yeah.
The agile chassis. It can be small or medium. It has an agile finesse 1d6 blade.
Okay.
With versatile piercing. 6 hit points. Low light vision. A climb speed of 20 feet. Its support benefit. An item or weapon the robot companion is carrying is launched 20 feet into the air and you catch it.
That's cool. It's not good. I find it cool because you just like whistle and suddenly, aha, my trusty pistol's in my hand.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. Like, your companion can pick up an item and you use the support benefit and it goes to you.
Yeah.
It's written a little ambiguously. The item is launched 20 feet into the air, but then no matter the distance, you interact to catch it. So I assume this is meant to be
Within
it
20.
can launch it to you within 20 feet, not that it goes 20 feet
Feet
up
and
then just
then
lands.
You just extendo hand up, grab it, retract.
Surgical strike is its advanced maneuver. It strides and then makes a strike if it hits, and it was undetected.
Ooh.
Which it
Rough.
can't be because it has to stride.
Yeah.
The target takes an additional 1d6 precision. If it's tactical advance, go to 2d6. If it was undetected at the start of surgical strike, it remains undetected. So that's how you get that undetected. By starting. Undetected is just too hard of a condition to get for this to be good.
Because didn't they change the what is it? One of the subclasses to basically from being have to be undetected to just being hidden?
Yeah, I believe so. Because the big thing is just that, like, undetected is the really hard one to get. It's where they don't know where you are at all.
Mm-hmm. So only at the start of combat, which is pretty rough.
Well, or if you go, like, invisible and then sneak around. But, like, it's even harder to get than hidden.
Yeah.
Basically, you need to, for example here, for the sake of argument, we'll say you go around a corner. You technically immediately become hidden when you go around a corner, but then you need to sneak again while hidden to become undetected.
I thought you couldn't become undetected unless they didn't know you were potentially in combat.
You're thinking of unnoticed.
Unnoticed, okay. I think that's what it was. It was unnoticed.
The different tiers are there's concealed where they know what square you're in, but they can't see you exactly. There's hidden, which is they don't know it.
Yeah. No.
It's not coming off the top of my brain. Let me
I mean, isn't hidden literally they know you are around but not your square exactly?
I think so.
We are truly
I made a video on
this fucking video, which is hilarious.
I made a video on this too, which is crazy.
And I know you talked me through it entirely, so I could finally get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Being stealthy.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this is why you made a video about it.
This is why I made a video about it. Okay. Okay, so concealed was they can see you, but they, you're like a little concealed. Hidden is they know the square you're in, but they still can't see you at all. Undetected is when they don't know where you are at all. When they don't know the square. Okay. It was like in my brain, but, you know. This is what like 2 months off of Pathfinder does.
Yeah.
Off of playing like actual games. All right, totally. Let's move on. Second chassis. It's built to imitate living creatures. See special for size. It has a fist attack, agile, finesse, D4, 4 hit points, which is rough.
Oh.
Low light vision, speed varies, and it has deception instead of acrobatics.
Mm-hmm.
It was constructed to imitate another ancestry. Select that ancestry. It is the same size as it, has the same speeds as it, is and looks identical with a +2 circumstance bonus to deception to impersonate that ancestry. It focuses on the same target as you with its support benefit, distracting an enemy within the first range increment of its weapon. So I guess it can hold the weapon then. Oh, yeah. I think there was something in the mechanics section that was like, they get a mounted weapon or something.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that shit kind of covers everything.
Until the start of your next turn, your strikes against that target that deal damage make the target off guard.
That's not bad.
That's... How long?
Oh.
It's just permanently off guard.
Until the start of your next... Yeah, just roll as written.
I would probably make it until the start of your next turn again.
Yeah.
Like a one round.
This is obvious to set up for other people.
Disturbing display is its advanced maneuver. It morphs its features. It attempts to demoralize using deception, which gains visual, loses linguistic, and they're off guard to your companion while frightened.
I actually, to be honest, I thought this wasn't going to be that good, but I kind of like the idea behind it so far. I do want to see...
The robots in general, or...?
Specifically the imitator. I wasn't the most, I didn't like the skirmisher too much, just because it had a advanced maneuver that was kind of hard to do. But I like the vibe of imitator.
Okay, let's see. Powerful chassis, medium or large. It's got 2 different D8s, 8 hit points, athletics, low light, 30-foot speed. Its support benefit. Your strikes that damage creatures your robot companion threatens, so it'd be within melee range.
Yeah.
Also deal a d6 of persistent bleed, or 2 if it's commercial or advanced. I think that's just from a normal animal companion. I don't remember which.
Yeah, it's definitely from one of them. But I do like the hydraulic flipper. That is pretty good.
Make a melee strike on a hit, knock him prone. Not too shabby. Surveillance chassis. Small. 30 increment spark with a d4. 4 hit points, dark vision, stealth. Fly 25 foot. Support until the end of your next turn. Creatures adjacent to it cannot flank you or cause you to become off guard. Or cause you to become off guard is crazy.
Yeah. I will say, reading this so far, I'm thinking, yeah, this would be the chassis my Pathfinder 1E character would be using for his drone.
Blinding spotlight for its advanced maneuver. Shine within 60 feet. They become dazzled until they avert their gaze or the end of your next turn. And it points it out as well.
Honestly, I kind of like the surveillance chassis. It is pretty niche, but the idea of having a little fly go around and mess with people is very fun.
I think the support benefit, and very specifically the fact that it's so vaguely worded.
Yeah.
Or not vaguely, but broadly worded. It cannot cause you to become off guard. That means if it casts a spell that makes you off guard, you don't. As long as this thing is next to it. That's pretty good. Tank chassis, medium or large. D6 attack with the shove trait. 10 hit points, athletics, low light, 20 feet. Support benefit gives you a +1 circ bonus on your next attack roll to strike a foe within its reach. That lasts until the first time you use it or the beginning of your next turn. And then ram slam. It strides in a straight line, makes a battering ram strike. As long as it moved at least 20 feet and successfully hit, the target is pushed back 10 feet. That's pretty good. The ram slam is pretty good.
I will say I I think I just don't like the first one. The other ones are they're fun in their own ways. Like it's definitely just animal companion, but the flavor of it and the special stuff with each of them seems a lot more fun than I've ever seen of any of the animal companions.
Something about like a robot that can climb on the ceiling and has a blade is far more appealing to me than a gecko that can climb on the ceiling and do some damage.
I guess so. It also might be because we are extremely biased to robotic things.
I love sci-fi.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there are customizations. You get one of these by default, and you can get more as you level up, so I want to look. You can select them each day during daily prep. Oh, so these are like familiar abilities then.
Okay.
So armored plates for better AC, artificial personality, so it can attempt skill checks that require charisma, and it can speak common. It can swim. You can see through it. It can climb. It can fly.
Install a mount.
Okay, cool. And then there are more as you go up through advanced and then superior. I'm gonna sneeze.
It's not easy being sneezy.
It's not easy being sneezy. All right, let's get back up here.
Indeed.
And work our way through the rest of the rules. All right.
Hello, rules.
In addition to the customization, all robot companions receive. Your drone begins with an integrated weapon mount, which it gives you training in, I believe, simple and martial weapons, and it gets the one weapon.
Okay.
I just glanced over it while we were down there.
This is turning into a tech witch, at least for drones.
You control your drone with your thoughts at a range of up to 150 feet. Only you can operate, control, and repair it. If it's ever beyond your range of control, it can't perform any actions. I like that with this, it means that it can't even get like hijacked or anything.
Yeah.
During your daily prep, you automatically repair your drone, restoring it to maximum HP even if it's been destroyed. And you can further customize and advance it by taking feats. And you also can spend 2 actions to command it to take 3. And you can modify it and any weapons it wields when you are within reach. It counts as armor for the purposes of modify. And you gain the following new mods. Desperate Repair. It gains temporary hit points equal to your level plus your int mod.
Doesn't go away at any point.
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't go away is good. It's
very
few temp HP.
I do like that you can just keep giving it temp HP at the start of every, like before you go into any combat.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that you have to be within reach, which then incentivizes like a next to each other play style.
Yeah.
Like it disincentivizes you from sending your drone out.
Yeah, because you can't repair it.
And I think it's yeah, it's the same for both of these. The fact that you can't modify it at range, like rest in peace the like hacking on my laptop while my drone's going around idea.
Maybe a feat, but I do not think it should be a feat.
Or you can modify it with Killbot, which gives it a +2 status bonus to damage rolls. If it deals more than 1 weapon damage die, it's 2 per weapon damage die to a max of +8 with 4. I don't know why it states this whole thing instead of just +2 per weapon damage die.
Yeah.
But that's what it does.
Gotta take up more page space.
Alright. Drone, my initial impressions are that it's very almost appealing to me as a fantasy. Specifically the fact that I can't, like, have it go out and do things for me if I want to make use of modify. Kind of hurts it for me. It means that if I'm sending it out, then I have to be, like, throwing grenades or whatever. Yeah. And, like, there's a bit of tech there with the fact that since it's a construct, it's immune to non-lethal. You can make the grenades non-lethal and not damage your drone, which is cool. But I would rather be able to basically power it up from where I'm at, send it forward. I mean, it's easy enough to homebrew. Like, if you're two-handing the toolkit, you can modify a range. Like, that would be easy. But
And honestly, I think that would be kind of a nice thing where if you dedicate to just two-handing it for the modify, then, like, whatever. Because then...
I also have to acknowledge, I think I said it at the start as well, like, when I had this idea to begin with, I don't think that it's fair to really, like, judge it based on this idea of what I want from the class rather than what it is. It's pretty clear that it's not gonna be the two-handing tools.
I think for me specifically, though that is, like, you know, true, we shouldn't judge it off that. I think specifically not having it where you can modify at range kind of sucks.
Because it does force you to interact with it in a specific way. Either have it next to you, and you're engaging in melee with it, or at range with it.
I will say it would be funny if there's a feat that literally lets you do that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's not get too caught up. Let's move on to mines, which is just funny to me. And you manage a network of mines. You can deploy them with the deploy mine action and activate them with the detonate mine action or reaction.
Boom.
They're shielded and can't detonate from taking damage. The DC to disable them is equal to your class DC. I'm sure that'll happen in someone's game. Probably in like something more subtle than a combat. You can collect an adjacent deployed and undetonated mine as a single action. During your daily prep, you create a number of mines equal to 2 plus your int mod, which is also your max number. If you're below your max, you craft 2 every 10 minutes for free. Okay. Alchemist.
Alchemist. This is more Alchemist.
And they're stored in your custom rig with no increase to its bulk. Alchemist. Though they're physical objects, they're destroyed if not used by next daily prep. They can't be duplicated or preserved. 1 action to 2 actions to deploy a mine with the manipulate trait. It costs a mine. You deploy a mine, planting it in an adjacent square and priming it for detonation. If you use 2 actions, you can plant it in an occupied square within 30 feet.
Okay.
Specifically, I don't think it was intended this way, but the way it's worded currently is 1 action you can only deploy it in adjacent squares, whether they're occupied or not. And then if you increase the actions to 2, it's only an occupied square and only within 30 feet. I think the intention was 1 action adjacent to you, 2 actions anywhere within 30 feet, not an occupied square. But we'll see. When you deploy a mine, you can select whether it deals fire or piercing. Look at that. You don't have to deal with robots being immune.
Yeah.
Well, not immune, but highly resistant.
Yeah.
You can modify one of your deployed mines at a range of 30 feet. Oh, so the mines get it. I'm messing around. Modding the mine as if it were a grenade, so you can increase its burst, bypass hardness, non-lethal, or with the following new mods. You can program it with rudimentary virtual intelligence. Oh, great. So then it dies. Allowing them to avoid damaging specific targets. Select a target within 60 feet, and they're excluded from the area of all mines you detonate. At 5th level, you can instead select 2 targets. Or targeting mine, which allows you to pinpoint creatures in range and increase the mine's damage by an amount equal to your int mod. Okay. So a little bit of bonus damage, or it doesn't hurt 1 or 2 people.
Yeah. Okay.
Then, as a concentrate action, I guess it's with the exocortex, or a reaction, when a mine you deployed is within 100 feet, you can detonate a mine within that range. It explodes in a 10-foot burst. That should definitely be an emanation, given that they occupy squares.
Yeah.
But I guess we can mess around with putting it awkwardly on corners. It deals 2d6 fire or piercing damage based on the type you chose when deployed. That seems annoying to track if there's any reason to do separate types.
Yeah.
Creatures in the area can attempt a basic reflex save. And you can detonate mine as a reaction when a creature enters or leaves a square within the burst area of a mine you have deployed. So the 10-foot burst. So this is why it should be an emanation then.
Yeah.
Because the burst is placed when it explodes. This is triggered when something enters. It's functionally a 10-foot emanation for the trigger.
Yeah.
And then a 10-foot burst for the detonation here.
And to note, a creature also applies to you or teammates, which is kind of funny. I think
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think specifically something that could be nice is it literally is basically when you deploy it and it explodes, it does fire, or like it does piercing, unless fire would go like against resistances. Like there's a few things that change its damage type.
Go for the toxicologist wording.
Yeah, like toxicologist warding, or there's a specific trait for guns where
Concussive.
Yeah, basically concussive.
I think it's fine as is. It's just like it rings to me as unnecessary bookkeeping where you're like, oh, I put this mine down as fire because these guys are made of wood, but these guys over here are robots, so I put down the piercing ones. But now everyone's running around. I forget which one is which because I was doing other things.
Yeah.
I had to heal someone, whatever.
I think specifically it does suck there, and I think specifically they why am I thinking specifically? I think they did that because most likely there will be other mine type damages, and just being able to say, it was always an ice mine.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is that it should be the type of mine.
Yeah.
And then that's it. It's just 2d6 non-scaling damage.
No.
Oh wait, no, it's at the bottom. It just doesn't have the separator that they usually have. At 3rd level and every 2 levels thereafter, it increases by 1d6. So it's cantrip damage for 3 actions. I guess it's in a 10-foot burst.
Yeah, and reaction to activate it, or...
This is true as well. You can set it up and then run around. You can kind of lock down with threat.
I like
although
it
I don't
so
think
far.
that it's enough threat, but there might be more stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough threat, but I do like the idea of it so far.
Alright. Turret. A deployable turret, easily collapsed and stored in your custom rig when not in use. You can deploy only one. It retains its current HP when stored. It occupies a 5-foot square, provides lesser cover. You can take cover behind it. Once deployed, you can fire it remotely if you are within 100 feet as a ranged strike originating from the turret's location. It has its own targeting sensors, including dark vision, and doesn't rely on your vision. It uses your attack mod and shares your multiple attack penalty.
Okay.
It's a commercial martial ranged weapon with 2 upgrade slots that you can improve, making it tactical or better. Its upgrade slots are located on your rig rather than the turret itself and are automatically remotely installed in any turret you deploy. It has an expend of 0, does not require ammo. Its level is equal to your level. Its AC is equal to your mechanic class DC.
Ooh.
Interesting. So that would be 16 at level 1, where a normal AC is, I believe, 17 or 18.
Yeah, but it'll always be lacking a little bit.
And it has hardness equal to half your level rounded up.
Okay, that's not terrible.
It has trained proficiency in reflex and fortitude, 6 hit points, and 2+ int mod for each level you have. Ooh.
Oof.
Its broken threshold is equal to half its total hit points rounded down.
Yikes.
And you automatically repair during daily prep. If it's destroyed, the next time you deploy turret, you deploy a repaired turret with max HP. Oh, that's not bad at all then. You can only have 1 deployed at a time. At 5th level, its hardness increases to 10. Oh, I see. So it has more scaling down here.
Okay.
At 10th level, it increased to 15, and its reflex and fort increased to expert. At 15th level, its hardness increases to 20, and its proficiency rank increases to master. And select one of the following arrays, which determines its damage type and range increment, which is strange because
you can...
I guess when I read commercial martial ranged weapon up here, I thought that you got to choose a weapon, but I guess it's one of these, but it counts as that for...
Yeah, proficiency's sake. I assume probably there'll be a later feat where someone else can get on top of it and bang, bang, bang it.
Okay. You can spend 10 minutes modifying your turret using your custom rig to change its selected array. Chain gun deals a d8 and 90 with analog. Disintegrator, d8 acid, 60 tech corrosive. Laser beam, thunderclap, volt thrower, and zero emitter.
Okay. So a bunch of...
All right. I need to read this again real quick to get like the rules locked in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it is a... You can only deploy the one, but it looks like if it's just like you don't need to maintain the one. It's that it's you put it down. If it gets destroyed, you can put another one down. You can just only have the one out at once.
Yeah.
It occupies a square, but only for lesser cover. You can basically command it within 100 feet by just making strikes using its position and senses instead.
Yeah. Okay.
It uses your attack modifier, so it'll have a +3 since you have the int bonus.
Yeah.
And it shares your map. You get the 2 upgrade slots. You can upgrade it as a weapon normally, so it has that scaling in it. And the upgrade slots that you fill on your thing are applied to anything you deploy. Doesn't need ammo, doesn't need to reload. All of its attacks are different types of damage, 1d8 with different ranges and some just different weapon groups.
Mm-hmm.
It has mediocre AC, but it has some decent scaling hardness. Because it's an object, I assume then it's immune to crits alongside just not having a will save. Which would be why it has so few hit points, is because it's an object with a lot of hardness.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can automatically repair it, and if it's destroyed using deploy turret, just makes a new one.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is locking in and I'm liking it. Deploy turret is a manipulate action. Deploy it into an unoccupied square within 30 feet and prime it to fire, or collect your turret from an adjacent square and collapse it. If your turret is reduced to 0 HP, you can collect and redeploy your turret as a 2-action activity to return it to full HP. You can modify your turret when you're within reach of it, modding the turret as a weapon, or using the following 2 new mods. Okay, so just thinking about it then.
I don't like how it incentivizes, like, it needs to be dead before you can recall it and get it back to full HP for 2 actions. I feel like just allowing the 2 actions bring back to full HP,
yeah, it'd be
it's
nice
just the more correct thing to do. Because that just feels clunky to me.
I'd argue that the way this is written, it's meant to be more of like a leading thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, if your turret is reduced to 0 HP, you can do this thing, rather than this being a prerequisite. But that would be GM determined, obviously.
Yeah.
But I would definitely run this as you can just use a 2-action activity to collect and redeploy it at full HP at any time.
Yeah.
And then, again, when you're within reach of it, you can modify it. Increase its damage by your int mod, which is quite good.
Yeah.
At the low levels. And change its selected array, so why even use 10 minutes? Like, I can see why this 10 minute here is here. Or no, because it's modifications are only until the beginning of your next turn.
Yeah, so it's just a a temporary shift. This is just accent.
Okay, I think out of the 3, I really want to like drone, but I think it doesn't lock in quite enough for me.
Yeah.
Mine is funny, but I'm not super interested in it.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
And I do really like turret.
I like turret a lot. It's definitely kind of the one I like the most. I like drone specifically because it reminds me a lot of Starfinder 1E. I will be honest. But I think turret has the most to be likely to be fun. I do want to see the feats. I feel like feats are really going to make or break this class, at least to me, because...
Absolutely, at least in playtest. Alright, let's see here then. Let's go through the features and then we'll get into the feats. So, looks like standard skill increases and skill feats. But at 3rd, 7th, and 15th level, you can increase only computers or crafting with an extra skill increase. And you gain an additional skill feat at these levels that must be for computers or crafting. So you can go into one or the other really hard, or keep both. Also at 3rd level, devices connected to your eco-cortex are more mobile or nimble. If you have a drone, you gain synchronized step, which is as an action with the flourish trait, you and your drone move in tandem, each striding once. And it doesn't count as commanding it.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, with the flourish...
Yeah.
So that's basically, this is, you get 2 actions, and then you command as another action, get 2 more actions.
Yeah.
And then you can use an action. That's 5 actions a turn.
Yeah.
As long as you both want to stride.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I will say each striding once kind of sucks for the one that's meant to fly, or the ones that climb.
Wait, wasn't traversal added that lets you use any movement type if you have it? I remember they added a trait like that before. Because I remember specifically we were talking about a certain trait that made it better, but I think that might have been...
Let's see. No matches for the traversal trait in the rule book, but they might be in here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's what it is, because I remembered we were talking about it before, I think with the remastered Pathfinder 2e.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
I also just wanted to check real quick. Alright.
Yeah.
And then if you have a mine or a turret, you gain reposition exocortex. As a concentrate action, a mine or turret you deployed within 100 feet, you redeploy it up to 30 feet. And every 5 levels, it increases by 10 feet. Sure. I mean... feels like it won't be relevant very often.
Yeah, I mean, if you need to move it, it could potentially be better than spending an action to pick it up, spending an action to drop it down.
Yeah, specifically with the mines, with the
turret, I feel like it's probably more wanted to just pick it up and put it back down, since you can put it in a greater range of positions.
Yeah. And we'll move on to 5th level, where you can you add the following mods. Energy versatility, so a grenade or weapon that deals energy damage. You can make it deal either acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic instead of its normal type.
That's cool.
Or physical versatility, which lets you do the same thing but for physical damage.
So it's just what's the trait where you have to spend an action and change it? Modular.
It's just permanent modular, but you have to use interact every time you want to switch, or you want to use the new mode instead of being a switch to and keep.
I will say with grenades specifically, this is pretty cool. I actually really like this for grenades, because basically you pick what extra effects you might like with grenades, and then you just modify to try and hit weaknesses.
I'm also thinking of, like, I think the, like, for example, the turret. You can modify the turret with this to hit things, so like it has some interconnection with the exocortexes.
Yeah, I do like that.
At 5th level, you get expert proficiency and crit spec. And drones get crit spec.
Yay.
You get weapon spec at 7. Expert in your class DC at level 9. Remote mods. You can modify your exocortex at a range 30 feet longer at level 9.
I don't like how that's level 9. I will say I do like an extension.
The fact that it says increases by makes me hopeful there's a feat at like level 1.
Yeah, I would like that. Period. That's the end of the sentence.
Enduring mods. Each day pick one mod you know to apply to an item during daily prep. Doesn't count against your limit, and it lasts for 24 hours or until dismissed at 13th level. Manifold mods. Whenever you modify an item, you can select 2 mods instead of 1 at 15th. Greater weapon spec. You get legendary perception.
Damn.
Master class DC.
Also high.
Your class DC is not super great.
Yeah, especially
for a class that wants to use grenades, or it seems that they want you to use grenades, and the mines too. It's a reflex save. It's a little worrying that you're so far behind.
Yeah.
Because I think it's 2 levels late for all of the skill increases behind a caster.
Yeah. I think if it had... Because I think it's trying to be more martial than caster-ish, you know?
But then it wants you to use grenades or mines, and those use your DC. I guess there's not really a good solution to that, because you'd overload the class if you gave it legendary DC scaling. At level 19, you can modify as a free action, which is problematic to be able to interact as a free action.
Just swap, grab stuff, whatever the free action.
Medium armor mastery. And that's all. Alright, we're into the feats. This is going to be the make or break for me as well, I think, on if this is like a fully satisfying class. Drone Exocortex can up to 3 times gain a new commercial customization.
Pretty good.
Mine Exocortex. Add your int mod to your mine's damage. So you can get twice your int mod then with the modification as well.
So basically what you pick if you go Mine Cortex. it's just like Alchemist with his feats where you have to take it if you're doing something.
A creature that crit fails additionally takes persistent equal to your int mod. That's bleed if physical or same type if not.
I do appreciate that they combine the crit fail thing with the just straight bonus damage.
Yeah, but that's definitely a must-pick feat if you're going for mines.
Yeah.
Especially with their poor damage otherwise. I get why it's there since it's the 10-foot burst, but... explosive shot. You've designed a nozzle. It's a new mod. On any non-area weapon, it deals 1 splash damage per weapon damage die.
Something.
I don't hate that. High voltage. And particularly because you can put it on a turret. All of these I'm thinking of the turret, where you can put it on its weapon.
I do like the idea that you can just give area fire for like specific area weaknesses. Where I see it being good. And specifically since that goes for your like attack thing instead of like a saving throw, it does make it better because you have a better proficiency there.
Yeah. High voltage. So it's drone only, and the drone gets a 2-action ability that lets it do a d6 of electricity in a 15-foot cone or 30-foot line with a reflex save on a d4 round recharge, and it scales by a d6 every level.
Free area damage, well, not free, but being able to do area damage is still nice. It's also level 1 feat, so...
A little bit of versatility. Thus far, as well, the mechanic can only target reflex saves, which is kind of rough.
Yeah.
Because those tend to be very high, especially in Starfinder, from what we've seen so far. High-tech medic. You can store up to 3 items with the healing trait in your custom rig, and you get some new mods. You can disassemble an item if a targeted creature has the clumsy or sickened condition. The item decreases the value of that condition by 1, just automatically. At 6th level, you can suppress persistent damage afflicting the target until the beginning of your next turn. And at 12th level, you can choose to grant the target fast healing equal to your intelligence modifier, or the item's level, whichever is higher, until the beginning of your next turn.
I don't know why it counted as fast healing then. I will say, you were saying...
I mean, it's just to delay the heal until their turn, I guess.
I think specifically, you're talking about how the second sentence is pretty powerful. There is just an item that straight up removes it that's low level in the Starfinder system. Because they made conditions a lot easier to remove than Pathfinder.
Yeah. I'm over here in Pathfinder where removing a condition at least requires a counteract check or a save. Alright. And you also get Healbot, where you can command a drone to administer the item as an action with the Manipulate trait. Which also heals additional HP equal to your int mod or half the item's level.
That's actually kind of cool. I do like that a lot. I like how there's many different ways of being a medic in the system so far. Each with a different class. There's no set class that you would pick to be a medic like there is with investigator or whatever.
Yeah. I also will say that this feat's kind of poorly worded. You can hold up to 3 items with the healing trait in your custom rig. That's clear. Concentrated dosage, you disassemble the item. So it would be the target item, I guess. But that can be any item on you. Because it's just, you modify an item, you disassemble it to deliver a powerful dose of analgesics, and then there's a targeted creature. Is this me administering the item also?
Yeah, I will admit that it's very clumsily
I guess
worded.
what's catching me is that it's you disassemble the item. But I think what it's meant to be is you modify one of the healing items
in your rig
to make it so that when you apply it to someone, it does these additional effects. I think that's how it's meant to be, but it's just you disassemble the item confuses me and makes me feel like the modify is the application.
Yeah.
And then the same thing here with you command your exocortex to deliver stored medication to a nearby ally. It administers the item as an action with the manipulate trait.
Stored where? Is it stored in the drone? Is it stored in you?
This is a modification of the drone. So the drone has to be adjacent to you. And then you use the modify action and it administers an item that's stored in it, but the items are stored in your rig, not the drone.
Yeah.
It's just a little clumsy and hard to follow, I feel.
At the very least, I can understand what they were going for.
Yeah.
But I think specifically they need to do a second rewrite of it to make it good.
I think concentrated dosage just needs to reword the first sentence here, but Healbot needs to be completely kind of reworded. Because I think what it's meant to be is that you have an item on you and then you give it to the drone and then it gives it to someone else, or you have the item already on the drone and it gives it to someone else, but It's very unclear.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
think.
even say if it strides or anything, just delivers it to a nearby ally. Like,
Nearby ally goes hard. But yeah. Anyway, I like the idea. It's just a little confusing. Multidisciplinary mechanic. You've studied a specialized form of invention. Select either biotech, magitech, or necrotech. In addition, you become trained in the associated skill and gain additional lore in the associated lore. Biotech gives you nature and biotech. Magitech gives your exocortex's strikes the magic trait, gives you arcana, and gives you additional lore magitech. And necrotech makes you train in religion and additional lore necrograft. If you have the critical explosion feat and plant a mine, you can choose to deal different type of damage depending on your choice of discipline. If you have explosive shot, when you modify a weapon with explosive shot, you can choose the splash damage dealt to be a different type of damage depending on your choice of discipline. Biotech deals acid, magitech deals force, necrotech deals void.
I will say magic tech dealing force is pretty good, as universally force is the least resisted thing, period.
I think force is overrated.
Oh, really now? You would say it's overrated.
Yes.
Most of the time you want to go for a weakness anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much.
The only thing that matters is if there's a weakness, you hit the weakness, and if there's a resistance, you avoid the resistance. There are so few times in the game where you can't avoid a weakness by just using a normal common damage type.
Yeah.
And those damage types also have the ability to hit weaknesses, which there's like no force weaknesses.
That's true.
And almost all force abilities are also balanced to generally be kind of weaker because force is such a quote-unquote strong damage type, which ends up with force being like
just
really
weaker.
consistent but not as strong as anything else.
I suppose so. I can agree on that point.
Anyway, shielded turret. Your turret provides cover instead of lesser cover.
Cool.
Alright, and now officially there is no level 1 feat that gives you range on your modifications by two-handing your tools. That's a shame.
Maybe second level. Ooh.
Easy homebrew.
Yeah.
Aerial denial turret at level 2. You can use 2 actions to area fire it, which gives it either cone or line whenever you use it, and its range is halved.
I like that.
That's good.
It does kind of suck that, your your class DC isn't as good as your attack DC, so it's not as worth it. But I do like it because I like area fire.
The fact as well that it's cone or line only on the stationary turrets is... I like it because it's you need to think about where you put it. Biometric assessor. You gain a new mod. You modify a weapon to take a genetic sample upon contact. When you successfully deal damage to a creature, you can immediately recall knowledge as a free action with a +1 circ bonus, and if you're untrained, you roll as if you were trained.
That's cool.
That's good.
So basically modify, pull out a weapon, shoot, recall knowledge.
Yeah, that's good. Coordinated, and the ability to just get the training so that you don't have to dump all your increases into all of the recall knowledge skills.
Is pretty nice.
Yeah. Coordinated fire. With a drone or turret, you and either your drone or your turret each make a ranged strike using the same map. If both attacks hit, combine their damage. Yeah, it's just 2 attacks at once, or 2 actions at the same map.
Coordinated fire is the fun idea, though. Like, you go with, like, a heavy weapon, like, mechanic with, I have DACA. My turret has DACA. Double DACA.
I like that it opens up even more action economy freedom with the drone. And that even if you've already commanded your drone on the turn and it's taken 2 actions, if you use this, then it can still strike.
Yeah.
Again. So it's another way to get 5 actions in a turn. Alright, hunker down. 2 actions, stride and take cover. Then you can either detonate mine, strike using your turret, or your drone makes a strike.
That's not bad, honestly, because specifically with how
Stride and take cover together, and then doing your main thing as a 2-action activity. That's very fun, I think, is the main thing. This very much emphasizes what I was talking about earlier, like running around the battlefield, typing away.
I think also another thing is that with Starfinder, a lot of the bonuses you're going to get is a lot of taking cover. Mm-hmm. So this just encourages it while still doing your main thing. Like, a lot of times, you're just going to get action compression from this. Also, Nat Flourish, so that's also pretty good.
I mean, it's 2 actions. But yeah, it doesn't take away the flourish from the other actions.
Like the extra action.
Instant deployment. When you roll initiative as a free action, your drone strides, you can deploy a mine or you can deploy a turret. I feel like out of all of these, deploy mine gets the shaft because it's adjacent. Only in this mode.
And the funny
part
of that
seems very bad.
Okay, to be fair, you have to use a reaction to blow it up, but the team griefing potential is insane.
Well, that's the other
blow
thing,
it up if
too.
anyone moves.
That's the other thing, too, right? Is, like, here's your... Alright, here's your full team. You're here.
Yeah.
Here's your allies. You have one guy out front. Roll initiative. I'm gonna place a mine right here. And then the second let's say the soldier strides, the second the soldier gets into this square, you can react to detonate this whole area.
Like I said, the team griefing potential is insane.
Oh god, I got scared, sorry. Alright. 2 action, mobile deployment. You stride twice, and at any point you can deploy mine or deploy turret.
Really good.
I like that.
That's really good, especially for the mine, because...
I'm also, as I'm reading the rules more, I think it wasn't clear in the EXO thing, but I think you have to pick up your turret. I think you only get the one object, it's just that it can't be completely destroyed. Which wasn't super clear in the text itself.
Yeah.
But I think it's becoming clear in, like, the feats and how they're written. Because, like, this now is, like, understood as pick up the turret or put it down.
Yeah.
Modify drone. You can apply mods to your drone as if it were a weapon, applying the benefits of those mods to any weapon it is in its integrated weapon mount. Sure?
Sure, still
more
right next to them unless you're level 9. Oh, well, here we go.
Well, this is talking about weapon... Oh, yeah. This is mods. It's not even upgrades. You can't do weapon upgrades. I think the weapon itself can be upgraded normally.
Yeah.
Remote operation. You can use a hacking toolkit to operate a vehicle, and you don't need to be inside the vehicle to drive it. You can remotely operate a vehicle or other machine you can see within 30 feet at the GM's discretion.
Okay, so the idea... Okay, so I'm guessing it's just a random vehicle you're seeing. You can just hack it and just go... off a cliff.
This is funny, but, like, so situational. Yeah. I do love the idea of just, like... let me...
No.
Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
So much effort for this.
I do love the idea of just using, 2 actions?
Not even.
Yeah, 2 actions, because you need to hack. 2 action, hack a car and just slam into an enemy at top speed.
It's pretty funny, I will admit.
But it is a shame that this also is not, you can mod your stuff at range.
Yeah.
Anyway, 4th level, you can mod your armor to not need cover or concealment to hide or sneak.
being able to just sneak without cover? Or
Well, you need to be...
Mm,
You can't just sneak from observed, which means you need to use this action, then hide, then sneak. And you need to succeed both checks to disappear. But you can just disappear. It just takes your whole turn.
yeah, that sucks.
Which is very rough. But it's also a very good ability.
Yeah, it also lets you grab something from your hand as well, in addition, which is kind of neat. Or switch things.
Concentrated Explosion. It's a grenade mod. Its area is halved, but it deals an additional damage die. That's not bad. Double detonation. Once a round as an action, you detonate mine twice, and if a creature is in the area of both, combine the damage to overcome resistances and weaknesses.
Pretty cool. I actually kind of like that.
I would like that if the mines weren't, like, kind of limited. Like, they have the same limitations as alchemist items, even though they're way less versatile. Gravitic mines. When you deploy a mine, choose one of the following effects for it. Either a black hole, when it detonates, it pulls creatures 5 feet towards it, or 10 feet plus slowed 1 on a crit fail.
I do like how it will pull them.
Yeah, I was gonna say as well, usually this would read something like, when it fails, it'll pull creatures, or when the creature fails, it is pulled 5 feet towards, but it's just 5 feet towards, period, and on a crit fail, it's 10 feet plus slowed.
Actually, really
that's probably
like
gonna get caught in errata or something.
Yeah,
but
that's
I like
true.
it as is, where it's a guaranteed effect to make up for like the fact that it's the mines are kind of hard to use.
And also, I think this doesn't even do damage.
Or Big Bang, it pushes creatures 5 feet away in a random direction. Away in a random direction is crazy. 10 feet and prone on a crit fail.
Just away.
Slowed 1 permanently?
Forever and ever.
Force movement, and it can't push into space, can't occupy.
I think slow 1 clears itself as...
You're thinking of stunned.
No, I think slowed also has that rule.
Nope.
Showing it on camera to try and prove me right. I better prove you right, though.
You're wrong.
No!
You're thinking of stunned.
Okay, well, I guess I'm proved silly.
Alrighty. Self-destruct your turret.
Kaboom.
2 actions. When it's deployed within 100 feet, it self-destructs, dealing a d6 piercing, d6 fire to all creatures in a 20-foot emanation. See? Emanation. They got it right here.
Yeah.
Creatures in the area can attempt a basic reflex save, and the turret is destroyed. Which then means you can do the 2-action redeploy. And only the piercing damage heightens.
Question. Does it normally word it as can attempt instead of must attempt?
I think it's kind of just up to whatever the author was feeling. But either,
Okay.
like, because, you know, it's the whole, like, you can, depending on your GM, you can, you can fail a save intentionally.
I guess so. It's just, I find it interesting because I think most of the time they use must, so having a can is kind of funny. Because it makes it seem like, oh, it's optional, you don't have to roll.
I don't
You
know.
can just take the damage, lol.
It sounds pretty normal to me.
That's true.
This is, I mean, the 20-foot emanation goes hard, and it's a little bit of extra oomph out of the end of the turret lifetime. You can do, like, a strike and then self-destructs, and that's a pretty good turn.
And especially if it becomes broken. You can't even do anything with it once it's broken.
Oh yeah, once it... No, it didn't have a broken threshold.
I thought it did.
If it did, that would suck. Oh yeah, its broken threshold is equal to half its total hit points rounded down, which then... I'm pretty sure the broken threshold means it can't be used. Yeah, it can't be used for its normal functions. So that means that effectively the turret has...
half as much HP.
Yeah, half the HP.
That's why I didn't like it too much, that you couldn't 2-action bring it up to repair it.
At level 1, it has 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. At level 1, it has 12 HP, which functionally means 6 HP then. Because as soon as it hits 6, it can't shoot anymore.
Yeah.
And you can't repair it either unless it's destroyed.
Or your Jason.
Or your GM allows you to.
Oh yeah, no, because
man. And
repair is 10 minutes normally.
Yeah, and with hardness being half level rounded up. The turrets, that's rough. I did not realize that that it had a broken threshold. That's quite bad.
That's why I didn't like the juggling of you want it destroyed and not broken. Like if you could 2-action pick it up when it's broken or destroyed, I feel like it would make it considerably better.
I would definitely be ruling it that way. Like I said, I think it's worded in a way where it's very fair to say you can always do that, but like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like imagine some chump shoots your turret.
Yeah.
And it deals 7 damage. And then you just can't use your turret anymore. You have to walk over and pick it up and then put it down again. Yeah. Because your GM doesn't let you 2-action redeploy. That would be the worst.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is that you can't repair it until you spend 10 minutes doing it.
There is the quick repair feat.
Yeah, which makes it 1 minute and then...
And then 3 actions later. And then 1 action at the very end, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. Alright, I definitely am not a fan of that then.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, tactical drone. Mature companion for a drone, and it gets the automatic action. 6th level, auto target as a reaction with drone or turret. When a creature within 30 feet of it uses a reactive strike? Yes. 30-foot reactive strike on a drone or turret.
Yay.
Cloaking companion as an action with your drone or turret. It becomes concealed until the beginning of your next turn. And then it has a level +8, which would be level 14 then. Where the concealment lasts for a minute. I think they might have meant to say level 8 and not level +8 there.
Yeah, I do wonder. I will say a minute of concealment for an action is not bad, though. I'm not gonna lie. Especially...
That's a mist form elixir.
Okay, well, you see...
It's not that great.
Yeah.
Defensive programming. Your drone gains the covering posture action, where it enters a defensive stance. All allies that remain adjacent to your drone gain lesser cover until the start of your next turn. Sure. It's something.
Yeah.
Double deployment. As an action, deploy mine twice. They must be within 30 feet of each other. But they have to be adjacent to you. Of course they're going to be within 30 feet of one another.
I guess it's whenever you're level... No, they have to be adjacent.
I'm going to go back up and double check.
No.
Because I'm pretty sure that we got it right. And deploy mine is... Yeah, it's adjacent or 30 feet if you spend 2 actions.
Yeah.
Which is not what we're doing here. Okay. Little bit of confusion then there on how that functions.
Yeah. Like if I had a thing where if you could 1 to 2 action it.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Then that would make sense.
Tactical customization. If you already have the upgrade to your drone at level 4, it gains a tactical customization. You can do it up to 3 times.
That's cool. I like that you can really give your drone a lot of
modifications.
That's cool. I like that. Now, is it the best use of feats? I mean, maybe.
Alright, tactical team up. 2 actions with a turret. It makes a ranged strike, and then you make a ranged strike, and the target is off guard against yours. That is almost without exception worse than the level 1 feat of 2 feet. The only time this would be better would be if you had a benefit from off guard.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't not increment map or anything. This is just 2 actions to off guard if your turret hits first.
Yeah.
Not great.
It's just worse.
I think that definitely was probably miswritten.
I hope so.
Activate targeting system as a flourish action. We're in a level 8 now. The next time before the end of your turn that you, your drone, or your turret makes an attack roll, it ignores circ penalties as well as any flat check due to being concealed or hidden.
That's actually pretty good, I'm not gonna lie.
That's fun. I like that.
Ignoring hidden specifically is pretty good.
Yeah. You can further refine a tactical drone to make it graceful or burly.
Burly companion.
Cloaking field, you gain a new mod you can apply to armor or an exocortex. To emit a cloaking field and 5-foot emanation, which makes everything inside concealed and everything outside concealed to those within. This cloaking field sure does seem like obscuring mist, guys. You and your drone can see through the cloaking field unhindered.
That's cool.
But not a turret? So your turret gets messed up because it uses its own senses. And it doesn't get to bypass. That's probably just they missed it.
Nah, there's a lore reason.
Expansive array, turret. Select 2 of the following arrays and add them to your list of available.
No name for them, sadly.
2d8 mental. Gets mental, poison, vitality, and void. And you can take it a second time. I'm pretty sure the damage is meant to be the weapon's damage.
Yeah.
Let's see. 2 upgrade slots. You can improve it following the typical rules for improving weapons.
Yeah, so you can improve it.
But that means that these deal more damage.
Yeah.
Because when you upgrade it, it goes from 2d8 to 3d8. I'm guessing that this was just miswritten. It's meant to be that these are d8 weapons.
I'm guessing probably in the first try, it auto-upgraded, and then they're like, no, let's make the mechanics spend extra money upgrading their turrets as well as their own weapons.
Gravitic dampener. As an action, you can set up an aura that slows motion and increases gravity. Either your turret, your drone, or one of your deployed mines radiates a 10-foot radius emanation of difficult terrain, which moves with it. It is immune to difficult terrain created by its own aura, and it lasts a number of rounds equal to your int mod. If it was larger than a 10-foot emanation, I guess it's that you could set up multiple of them. But then you're tracking rounds equal to int mod on several items.
Yeah.
I don't know. The best use case I'm thinking of for this is like deploy a bunch of mines and then set them all up as slowing.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to take proper advantage of is what I'm thinking. Instant install. If you use your custom rig to install upgrade rather than a repair toolkit, you can do it as a single action. I think it takes 10 minutes or a minute usually.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of cool. It's a way that you can like keep other like damage upgrades and swap it out as you go.
Switch out for different damage boosts because those are, yeah. And you can do it for anyone as well. Transmutative casing. New mod on an exocortex or weapon. Damage dealt is either cold iron or silver. And you can add adamantine and actinites at 16th. Sure. Advanced customization at level 10. With a refined chassis, you can give it advanced customization up to 3 times. Energy expulsion, your turret for 2 actions as long as it deals energy damage on its current array. You make a ranged strike. On a hit, additional energy is expelled around your turret. Around your turret?
No.
Dealing damage to creatures in your choice of a 10-foot emanation around it or a 15-foot cone from it. All creatures in the area take damage equal to your turret's ranged strike with a basic reflex save. I find it very interesting that this is only on a hit. That feels strange. Like, it's meant to be that you, like, overclock it and it shoots and it, like, explodes as it shoots to hurt things around it, but it doesn't explode unless it hits.
Yeah, no, that's kind of dumb. I think it should do the explosion no matter what, as well as doing a normal strike.
It's still good, like, double stacking up if things are in close. I just think that it doesn't make sense narratively.
Yeah.
Flickering shield in armor. It protects from harm. Gain temp HP equal to 5 plus your int mod and regain HP equal to your int mod every round the shield is active, which lasts for a minute or until dismissed. And then the modified item or exocortex becomes immune for 10 minutes.
Does modification say if it lists a number of rounds, that takes over?
It doesn't, but this is specific beats general.
Okay.
Okay, so the creature wearing the modded armor regains temp HP. Probably at this level there'll be 10.
Yeah.
And then heals 5 every round for up to a minute. That's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
Especially for an action, and you can do it just to everyone from adjacent.
And especially at this level, you do get the 30-foot range modify.
Yeah, it was at level 9, right?
Yeah. So I think very specifically, this is good, even though a flat 15 isn't the best at, like, higher levels. That's still always a flat 15 gain every level. It's the reason why, whatchamacallit, you know the alchemist items I'm thinking of, the way you gain temp HP every round? Numbing tonic and whatever.
Soothing and numbing.
Yeah, soothing and numbing tonic. That's why they're so good, and this kind of combines them both to a lesser degree for an action.
I think the thing that makes numbing tonic so good is that it's just an absurd amount of temp HP.
Yeah.
Isn't it like 40 at the peak?
Yeah, it's a lot of temp HP. It's the reason why I always got it with every alchemist I played.
Let's see, numbing tonic. I remember that it isn't too great at level 1 because 2 temp HP isn't going to stop you from getting down to a crit. 5 HP at level 5 is, like, fine.
Yeah.
But, like, as the game starts bloating, it goes up to 25. As the game starts bloating, like, 10 is more impactful, 15 is a little more, 20 is a little more, like, 20 and 25 are where it's, like, super crazy because it's just, like...
That's a flat amount reduced every round.
Yeah, it's very good.
No, it's not, like, the most overpowered thing, you know?
Oh, yeah. But, like, combining the two of them on one person makes it very hard to kill you. Especially if you have other people supporting you.
Yeah.
Proximity alert mines. I already read this one. It's kind of funny. Whenever you deploy a mine, you can choose to make it a proximity alert mine. If you do, it automatically detonates whenever a creature enters or leaves a square within the burst area of the mine. The thing that's funny to me is that this means that whenever enters or leaves means if a creature is... Let's toss down a little... This is the burst. If a creature is on the edge of the burst and they stride to exit, it triggers after they exit and doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
Which means that because it's as written a 10-foot burst, there's literally no square where a proximity mine isn't just avoidable, because a 10-foot burst looks like this.
Good arch, guys.
And literally every single square in here can escape with a single movement. You go here to here, it explodes, and you take no damage because it triggers when you're here.
To be fair, it does force them to want to move in a certain way unless they want to take pretty mediocre damage. So, a very oppressive thing.
Not really, even. They move a single square and then it's entirely gone. It doesn't even stay like Mud Pit, and Mud Pit is not a great spell.
I was making a joke.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Anyway, yeah. This would be like ever so slightly made better by it being an emanation instead of a burst, because then if it is centered on someone, they can't escape it. But I think instead it should just be, it triggers when they use a move action.
Yeah, literally.
So that it hurts them no matter what.
Yeah, whenever they enter or make a move action within...
Whenever a creature takes a move action or enters or leaves a square within the burst area.
Yeah.
I think that's standard protocol for most move triggers anyway.
And honestly, I think they can keep the mines as burst. I do think it would be better if it was emanation, so...
Yeah, it would just be cleaner.
Yeah.
Rocket boosters for the drone. It gets a fly speed of 20 feet and a 2-action ability once per 10 minutes where it strides twice, which is really funny to have on the same ability where they gain a fly speed, but I digress. Moving through the spaces of any creatures in the way, dealing 5d6 bludgeoning damage with a basic reflex save against your class DC. Creature that crit fails is knocked prone, and it doesn't trigger reaction.
I feel like there was a rule somewhere that strides could be done with anything. I remember that vividly.
I'm hoping that traversal... Let me... Traversal trait... Starfinder 2E. Let's see if I... here we go. Okay. Yeah, okay. It was in one of these things. Nope.
Yeah.
Yes. When it applies, traversal allows the use of alternate movement types in place of land speed.
But it still doesn't.
It doesn't have it, but
yeah.
Yeah. So now we have that answer to the one earlier.
Okay.
Then anyway.
That's what I was thinking it was. So yeah, no, this is dumb. I can officially say this is a little dumb.
I mean, I think this is fine anyway, because you can move through spaces and you deal damage and you knock things prone and you don't trigger reactions. I just think it's very funny that it gains a fly speed and then the ability doesn't use the fly speed. It's fine, it's just funny.
I wish it could, because I like the idea that you send a little drone to go...
It would be cool if this had the traversal traits, that it could be that extra bit.
Yeah.
At 12th level, deploy bunker is a concentrate action for drone or turrets, where it creates a temporary wall, a 5-foot wide metal wall in a space adjacent to your drone or turret, or extend a wall you've already created by 5 additional feet. The walls created are 1 inch thick, 5 feet high, placed vertically on the border between squares, and must be placed on a solid horizontal surface. They're part of your exocortex, so they share the same stats and hit points, and they retract back in if the drone or turret moves or is forced to move.
Okay. Well...
Seems like a lot of effort for very little, especially because the turret should already... Like, if you took the earlier feat, the turret is already giving you standard cover.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or standard cover.
Here's Glitch Pulse. It's a new mod for Exocortex or weapon, where strikes from a modded weapon causes a random tech item held by the target to become glitching free for a round. If the creature has a tech trait, it must attempt a fort save. Immune for 24 hours on a crit. No effect on success. Glitching 3 for a round on failure. Glitching 3 for a minute on a crit fail. I still am not a big fan of how glitching functions.
I agree.
I think that I can't really, like, adequately sort of rate anything that has glitching because I just don't think the condition as written is healthy currently. Because, like, this is, albeit a crit fail effect, this is a non-in-cap crit fail effect that would just almost make the thing, like this they lose the fight there because they take a -3 to everything.
I think specifically it's just the thing they made in Cap 4, but they're just not applying it to glitching stuff a lot of times.
I just wish that glitching were a smoother condition.
Yeah.
I don't think it's well implemented currently. Healing mines. Sure. It's a mod where you pack feather-like cartridges with sterile syringes full of concentrated analgesics. It heals an amount of hit points it would have dealt as damage.
Thank goodness the explosive object has sterile syringes, you know?
I'm not sure how I feel about this, because you were saying before you like how a bunch of the different classes are, like, capable of
being a medic.
But this just doesn't feel right to me.
At level 12.
It's at level 12. It heals the same amount of damage it would deal. I guess it's, like, repeatable, infinite 10-foot bursts of
healing.
D6 healing.
Yeah.
But
D6s of healing, because it is, like, I want to say, a cantrip amount of healing.
It's also kind of funny that it's, like, delta's damage, and it's, like, I think it's intended to be, you just roll the flat D6s, but I could definitely see someone getting confused and being like, okay, everyone, roll your reflex saves against the healing mines. You crit failed, heal double.
You really face planted onto that mine.
It
Good job,
launched
soldier.
those syringes into your stomach.
Don't worry, they're,
they're sterile.
They're sterile, you're fine.
Shockwave pulse.
Kaboom.
You can apply to a grenade or weapon. If the item has the area trait, all creatures who fail their save against the item are also knocked prone. That's very good. Otherwise, a creature damaged by the item is knocked prone unless they succeed at a fort save against your class DC. So if they fail their save, they get knocked prone automatically, and no matter what, they need to make a fort save or fall prone.
That's really good.
That's really powerful.
And honestly, I don't think I mind it much. Like, it's very powerful, yes.
I think it's overtuned.
But it has to have the area trait. They have to fail to be prone. I guess the double fail, it's kind of...
Oh, I think the otherwise is meant to be if it doesn't have the area trait, not any situation that isn't the above. Because that's more reasonable. Although I do think this should definitely say, like, if it doesn't have the area trait, a creature damaged by the item is knocked prone unless.
Okay, that makes sense. Especially... Well, wait.
Instead of using otherwise, I think they should just say...
I mean,
if the item doesn't have the area trait. It is
kind of covered because it says if it has the area trait, otherwise, if it doesn't have the area trait, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's kind of covered vaguely, in a way. Like, it makes sense if you read it fully.
I just think, like, eliminating ambiguity is good.
Yeah, of course.
Spinning blades for a drone. Spin to win. 2 actions, it spins
Spin
around.
to win!
It deals its melee strike damage to all creatures in a 20-foot emanation with a reflex save and can't use it again for D4 rounds.
I'm so glad.
And then the damage increases?
Wait. Huh. I mean... I can see it being an interesting thing, but I can definitely tell that this was something left in with the previous right of the feat.
Yeah, where this would deal, like, a set amount of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as written, this will do the melee strike damage, and then at level 14, it'll do an additional d6, and that increases at 16, 18, 20.
Like, I don't actually hate that idea.
Yeah, it's just kind of...
I don't think
without precedent.
Yeah.
Another reflex save. They can't target anything but reflex yet still.
Mm-hmm.
Advanced drone. Advanced companion. Advanced targeting system. Once per 10 minutes when you roll an attack roll with activate targeting system, you can add fortune to it.
I will say, if you scroll back up to the advanced companion thing, I dislike how, like Ranger and other things, you have to spend feat slots to upgrade your main class feature.
This is fair.
Because that was something that they changed with a lot of focus spell stuff for casters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of sad that they're not doing it for stuff like this, where it's the mandatory feat to upgrade the drone specifically.
This is fair. I'm kind of torn on it. Because, I understand why it's like that. It's because having a whole nother pool of hit points and damage with separate map is very strong.
Yeah.
And so just having it automatically scale would be really good.
Mm-hmm.
But also I don't think that there's so much power in class feats that having several feats be mandatory is reasonable. Or not reasonable, but is necessary.
Yeah, the thing that sucks for me, and this happened a lot when I tried to scout out any inventor or anything that uses animal companions, is that I miss out on cool mechanics I want to do
because you're catching up
because
on the
I have
numbers.
to catch up with the thing.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel exactly right either with the advanced maneuvers and stuff that you get, because that's that's part of the thing's progression, because otherwise it's just a stride and strike bot.
Yeah.
Convertible chassis drone exocortex. Reconfigure as a 1 hour activity with concentrate manipulate traits. And you can choose one chassis as an alternate, where it can, as 2 action flourish, switch into the different one.
That's cool.
That's neat. Synchronized advance, 2 action drone or turret. If you have a drone, synchronized step. If you have a turret, stride and reposition. Reposition exocortex, which was the thing that lets you redeploy it up to 30 feet. Okay. I was just reading the word reposition. I was like, the action. If you end this movement adjacent to your drone or turret, you make a ranged strike and then take cover behind it. Sure. Again, I'm not the super biggest fan of the fact that you are incentivized to be in combat with your drone or turret here, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Level 16, self-repairing exocortex. Either your drone or turret gains fast healing 5, which doesn't heal it at all because it's immune to healing, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's fair enough that you're meant to understand that it just repairs. Fast repair 5.
Fast repair 5.
If it takes electricity, that deactivates until the end of your next turn. What's up?
I'm good.
Okay. Superior customization. For the drone, it gains 1 superior customization. You can take it up to 3 times.
Yay! I'm glad that feat should keep sticking. I honestly kind of like it. As much as I was kind of bitching about the previous thing, I do like...
I like that if you want to max out on the customization feats, you have to actually give up the number progression feats, because you can take each one 3 times.
Yeah.
Which means that your turret will just suck, but have a lot of modifications. It's kind of strange.
I do like how there is a progression path where every time you couldn't take the whatchamacallit, you take an upgrade thing.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, is that you can take each one up to 3 times, but you can only take them twice before you need to take the math upgrade one.
Oh, yeah.
Because you only have 10, well, technically 11 class feats total. But the first one can't be used for it. It's just funny.
It is quite funny.
terraforming mines. Prerequisite of gravitic mines. When you deploy a mine, you can choose Big Bang, which pushes 5 feet away in a random direction.
I don't like the in a random direction.
And Gravity Field, where when it detonates, the area becomes your choice of high gravity, low gravity, normal gravity, or zero gravity for a minute. Sure. That sounds like a pain to keep track of.
Yay.
But, like, it's cool. Also, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Big Bang there. Just the random direction stuff is strange.
Yeah. I will say Gravity Field as an idea is cool. I do not think it needs to be
I think
made.
the spell that takes 2 actions affects a big burst and lasts like 10 minutes is way better for that sort of thing.
That's true.
Those stats were also off the top of my head. I don't remember if it lasts like a minute or something.
Mm-hmm.
Elite Drone. It becomes a specialized companion. That's what I'm saying is here
Yeah.
you get the feat. You can take it up to 3 times, but you have to give up the specialization if you wanted to take it 3 times. Enduring Exocortex. When you have 0 hit points or otherwise unable to act, your Exocortex remains functional and can take 3 actions per round on your turn. And it can act while you're dying or unconscious, but ceases to function if you are dead. It's your turret or your drone or your mines. They can detonate, but you can't deploy them.
Yeah.
I guess.
On your turn, what do? I blow up.
I'll blow up. And permanent mod is a 10-minute activity with a concentrate manipulate trait. Apply a permanent mod to a non-consumable item. And it lasts until you next apply a mod in this way. Finally, at level 20, at the start of each enemy's turn, you get an additional reaction you can use only for a mechanic reaction, which the only one was detonate mine, I'm pretty sure.
I think also the reaction attack of opportunity is pretty decent.
Oh, yeah,
That's actually
okay.
really good.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. And multitasker, you're permanently quickened to command your own fire turret or detonate mine. I don't know. Strike? You mean strike?
It's just strike.
With your turret?
Strike with your turret.
Ultimate drone. Your drone transcends its code and becomes true AI. It becomes a creature with the tech trait with free will. It can act independently even if you're out of range or unconscious. You each roll initiative and can choose to act on the better result. You increase 2 of its attribute modifiers by 2. Apply the extra benefits on one of the paths listed below. Master Athletics, Strength Con increased by 1. Its prof rank for unarmed attacks and integrated weapons increased to Master, and it gains an additional integrated weapon. That's pretty good. Diplomacy Mastery, Charisma by 2, no cause for alarm.
That's why I was laughing.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's really a level 20 feat right there, you know?
Yeah, no cause for alarm.
Goodness.
Diva, Master in Performance and Media Lore, Charisma mod by 2, Fascinating Performance. Hacker, Master in Computers, Int mod increased by 2, Combat Hack, and Nurse, Master Medicine, Wisdom, Battle Medicine. Nurse, Hacker, and Bodyguard are much better than the other 2.
Yeah, I also feel like...
And Diplomat is very much the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Master in Diplomacy is fine if you don't have a party face, but if you don't have a party face at level 19, then getting one at level 20 is probably not going to be super helpful.
Yeah. Like, that feels like a lower level feat to me. Which isn't good. Of course, you know, if it was available at lower levels for, like, a different thing, I think I would like it.
Alrighty, so that was the mechanic. We'll hover here on Raya's face. What were your thoughts on mechanic?
So, overall, I can definitely tell it's rough around the edges. This is a playtest after all.
Yeah, of course. It's
The one thing that I did really wish that they had was more range things. Just because not being able to do many things at range besides, I want to say, the turret or something like that, kind of sucks. I also don't like how there's no ways of extending the range past 30 feet with a level 9 class feature. Like, there's no feat for it, which kind of sucks. But, I will say, I do like what they have laid out for it. It feels like Inventor, which isn't exactly a positive thing, but it isn't a negative for me. Like I kind of went with whenever we first started reading this. I do like how I like the idea behind the mines. I like the idea behind the turret, and I like the idea behind the drone. I think it all just needs more touch up to be more fun and cohesive with what they want to do.
Yeah. It's also worth pointing out while we're down here, commercial customizations. All mechanic drones have the integrated weapon mount, where it becomes trained in simple and martial weapons, and it has one weapon mount where you can install or uninstall a weapon into it as a 10-minute activity. And when a weapon is installed in that mount, it can wield the weapon and can't be disarmed. And you can take it a second time for a second weapon. Mm-hmm. But basically, your drone can also fire at the same range that a turret would be able to.
Yeah. Now, of course, the turret has the benefit of, having hardness and honestly being a little bit less of a target because and also because if it gets destroyed, period.
It's very easy to redeploy.
And of course, if you run the rules as a way that feels better for us.
Me when I take 7 damage and can't do anything.
Yeah, if you allow the player to 2-action pick up and regain HP and then place it back down, that is a target you're putting out that they're going to have to deal with, or they're going to be dealing with damage from that angle. Now, of course, it's just a normal strike. It's not anything too pressuring.
It's a D8 gun.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that pressuring.
And that also means people are probably not going to really want to target it. Now, of course, if that's the only thing they can target, then maybe. But overall, I think it just needs a second go-around and a playtest.
Yeah.
And of course, some feats need to be worded in a way that makes either proper sense or better mechanical sense.
I think in my mind, I'm kind of like thinking about playing through different scenarios with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm just finding that it's like a little bit clumsy in execution, but it's trying very hard. Mine's definitely feels out of place compared to the drone and turret for me. Just in like how it functions. And specifically the broken threshold thing with the turret is like difficult to kind of conceptualize how to handle fairly and funly at a table. Mm-hmm. But I like the idea. I like what it's trying to do. I just wish it had better support for not being the person with the weapon.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like all of them want you to have a pistol on you, or at least a pistol.
Yeah, what I was kind of
in your
thinking...
free hand or some grenades.
Yeah, what I was kind of thinking would be a nice thing is do something similar to a cleric, where you can be a more gun-toting mechanic or more of a focus on your creations mechanic.
Yeah.
Where basically you can trade out weapon proficiency for class DC. I think something like that would be actually kind of nice.
I think my initial impression, as far as like modifications, like things that I'd want to make it function in the way that I want it to, would be I would make, as long as you're two-handing the tool, you can mod within 30 feet. And then that level 9 feature gets changed out to be, if you're two-handing, then, like, all of your stuff gets a damage die bump. So instead of a D8 turret, it's a D10 turret.
Yeah. I think something like that would be fun, because it's basically I'm focusing on being the mechanic on the battlefield. I got my big rig going.
And I like what you were saying as well, where like you give up your own weapon proficiency to get better scaling on your DC. I think that would also be very good, because I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's a full martial that has these this toolkit that's trying to
be a DC thing.
Be DC, or not even necessarily, but like it's mixed, because
that's why
the turret uses your strike modifier, which means that just straight up swapping it would not function well for that. But the turret can also do area fire.
Yeah.
So
that's why
I would want some option where it's like you don't even become trained in martial weapons, but you get better DC or something like that.
That's why I would kind of like it to be something similar to the cleric, where you can do like a more...
You could either do like a battlefield mechanic or like a backline mechanic.
Yeah, where basically the backline would have better DCs, be able to do their stuff at range.
I would love to play a backline mechanic. I'm not too interested in a battlefield mechanic.
And if you did like battlefield mechanic, you would have gun proficiency and perhaps even feats where you can do stuff with guns in your drone or guns in your exo. Because
the battlefield mechanic already has direct feat support in like the 2-action one, where both you and your turret stride and then like strike, and you can take cover behind it.
Yeah.
Like that's a fully dedicated, I have a gun and I'm with my turret or my drone, and we're going in together. That is what that feat does and is for.
And that's what that fantasy is being fulfilled with.
And that's not what I want to do with the mechanic. What I want to be the mechanic. I don't want to be a gun toter.
Yeah, I think specifically if it had something like that, I would be I'm still very interested in this, because this is...
Yeah, for sure.
But I think specifically if it had a way to be more of a backline mechanic, I would love it.
Yeah. Alrighty. Now, we're a little bit over halfway through the document. We're going to get into Technomancer with Raya. Raya was born and raised on Castrovel, where she studied magic, technology, and xenobiology in a rigorous university program. She approaches work and play with the same intensity and loves meeting people and studying alien creatures, all of whom she sees as beautiful expressions of life. She travels to distant worlds with her friends, hoping to encounter new creatures and cultures she can respectfully learn about. Strangers are just friends she hasn't met yet. Sounds like a charisma caster to me, right?
Yeah.
Nope. Alright. This is the one I know FP was very excited about. Yes. But I am also... I like casters.
Yeah. And you always like the comparison of caster as programmer. So this literally being caster as a programmer, I feel like it's going to be your vibe a lot.
We'll see. You know that magic and technology are all part of the same code, a code you've learned to hack. You're versed in magical programming, which allows you to overclock your equipment into higher performance and versatility. You can jailbreak your spells, pushing your magic past the limits. You're here to hack reality. Int 6 HP class with trained perception, fort reflex, expert will, trained arcana computers, and 1+ int, so worse skills than a mechanic, but it's still decent because int class.
Yeah, but like only works by like what, 1?
Yeah. Simple weapons, light armor, spells, and class DC. All right, so this is looking to be a full a full caster architecture here. You cast powerful spells and vent magical energy to overclock your tech, and spells to blast away your foes. You can overclock your allies and yourself.
Okay.
Alright, let's get into this here. We'll try to make this a little bit shorter as well.
Yeah.
Technomancer spellcasting. You're an arcane caster.
Not bad.
Use specific arcane gestures, rapid typing, or verbal passphrases to hack magic, often manifesting arcane runes around the tech gear used to channel your magic power. You can prepare up to 2 first-rank spells and 5 cantrips each morning from the spells in your spell database. Prepared spells remain available to you until you cast them or prepare them again. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Normal casting.
Yeah.
Heightening, cantrips, database. You receive a database for free and must study each day. Its form and name are up to you. If it's ever damaged, destroyed, or stolen, it loses magic, and you can download your spell database onto another technological device as a 10-minute activity. 10 cantrips and 5 first-rank spells, common or others you have access to, and you add one from your programming language. Is this just going to be wizard?
I think it's just wizard.
Each time you gain a level, you add 2 arcane spells to your spell database. Yada yada. Magic hacks are a type of focus spell. It costs a focus point to cast. Yada yada. At first level, you learn an initial magic hack, which is unique to your programming language, and you can learn an advanced magic hack with the advanced magic hack feat and a greater magic hack with the greater magic hack feat. This is kind of a shame, because one of the things I was very excited about and very happy about with the first couple of casters, Witchwarper and Mystic, was that they got all of their focus spells for free.
Yeah. So not
as
having
part of
it
them,
here.
and it made them feel much more unique, and like separate in their subclasses.
Yeah, because I talked about it with the mechanic where there's feats that you have to take, and I like that with the focus spells you didn't have to, so having it back here kind of sucks.
Yeah. Programming language. Each Technomancer specializes in combining the programming language of a specific variety of equipment with their arcane magic. Choose a programming language from the options on page 24. It determines the bonus spell shape feat you gain at first level. Hooray. The focus spell you learn at first level, the bonus spells you learn that constitute your spell cache, and the bonuses you gain for using overclocked gear, and your bonus spell shape feat. And I'm going to read spell cache before I move on to checking the actual languages. Spell cache. You create a magical shorthand for your favorite spells, makes them easier to cast. You automatically add spells to your cache from your programming language as soon as you can cast spells of the appropriate rank. They can be prepared normally during your daily prep, or you can download these spells to overwrite and replace other spells you've already prepared so they can be cast using that spell slot. Once every 10 minutes as a free concentrate action, overwrite one of your prepared spells with one of the spells in your cache of the same rank or lower. Select one of your prepared non-cantrip spells that has not been expended, and the spell slot is emptied. One of your... yeah, okay. So switch out a spell for one from your...
I actually kind of like that, I'm not going to lie.
It's spell substitution, but you don't have to say, everyone, sit down for 10 minutes. I'm going to read a book.
I actually kind of like it that you have a cache of favorite spells. Now, to be fair, does this, like, you know, hit directly at me as someone who has, you know,
Bachelor's degree?
Yeah, very, very useful bachelor's degree in computer science. Yes, it does. Now, it's kind of cool, though.
There's also some key terms. Overclock gear benefits from a special bonus based on your programming language. Jailbreak. You can apply the additional jailbreak effects of the spell shape feat chosen when you use jailbreak spell. This is always optional and might not apply to every spell compatible with that spell shape. Each programming language has its own jailbreak bonus applied to the spell shape feat it gains as a bonus feat at first level, in addition to its normal jailbreak bonus. That is a word salad.
Ugh. I hope it makes more sense once we have context.
Overclock gear. I'm going to go over to the programming languages real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So they're listed in this order. Spell cache. Additional spells known automatically in your database every time, and you can use the download spell action to bring them in. Magic hacks for your rank 1 focus spell. Spellshape. It gives you a spellshape feat.
Sorry, I just read ahead.
Overclock boost. Each programming language is associated with a specific type of item noted in parentheses in the overclock boost entry. You can only overclock gear on items that match your programming language's item type. I don't hate it. When you are holding, wearing, or wielding an overclocked item or have an overclocked minion, you gain the benefits of the overclock boost. So you have to have the item, and that lets you use overclock gear. And then when you use overclock gear, it becomes overclocked, which gives you the overclock boost.
Yeah. And then you can jailbreak to lose the overclock.
When you jailbreak spell and choose to apply your programming language's preferred spell shape, you gain the additional benefit listed in the jailbreak spell shape entry in addition to its normal jailbreak bonus. We're just going to read the first one here, DPS++, and move back and try to understand a little better.
You know, this is really starting to sound like the programming books I read in college.
It's the premier programming language for weapons, incorporating tactical commands, shortcuts, and innovations from programming languages found across the galaxy to cause maximum destruction. I see you laughing. Stop reading ahead. This incredible feat of computer science is responsible for the universal compatibility of weapon upgrades. Okay. Magic hacks. You gain thermoelectric phase change, and then you can pick up virtualized data transmission and overclock brain. Your spell shape is signal boost. Oh, jeez. Okay, overclock boost, weapon. So when you overclock a weapon, or you can overclock a weapon, and while you're wielding an overclocked weapon, you reduce the circumstance bonus to AC your targets have from cover by an amount equal to half the rank of the spell you cast to overclock your gear, minimum of 1. Reduce any penalties due to range by 1, and gain a circumstance bonus to weapon damage equal to the rank of the spell you cast to overclock your gear. If the spell dealt damage, it's of the same type, otherwise that's the normal damage. Okay, and then when you jailbreak spell to apply the signal boost spell shape to a spell that deals damage, you gain an item bonus to damage equal to the base weapon die of your weapon to one target of the spell. Do not apply any other modifiers. Sorry. What's signal boost? You can extend the reach if the next action you used is to cast a spell that has a range, increase the range by 30 feet. And it's 60 feet if you jailbreak. Okay, so it's signal boost is reach spell. Now we can move back up, and now we have a little bit more context. We can maybe understand this better. Overclock gear.
Sorry, I read all the programming languages and it made me giggle.
Alright. As an action, when your most recent action this turn was to cast a non-cantrip spell, one item you hold, wield, or wear, or a tech minion you're commanding, becomes overclocked for 1 minute. You can only have one overclock gear at a time. If you attempt to overclock a different piece of gear, any other gear you have overclocked is no longer overclocked. As long as your gear is overclocked, you gain the benefits of your programming language's overclock boost. So the item itself being overclocked doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. But while it's overclocked, you gain the benefits. And it's a 1 minute buff as an action after you cast a spell. So now we can scroll back down here.
Yeah.
Overclock boost. You got to be holding a weapon. And then you can use overclock to gain these bonuses. Reduce circ bonus, amount equal to half rank of spell. Reduce any penalties due to range by 1. And gain a circ bonus to weapon damage equal to the rank of the spell you cast. Cool, for 1 minute. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Especially because, I mean, that's a plus 1 to 10 damage bonus, just flat. All Alright. Now, back up and over to jailbreak. Jailbreaks. Oh my goodness.
The coffer.
Drink a bit of water. As a free action, when your gear is overclocked, you can apply a Technomancer spell shape to the effects of the next spell you cast this turn without spending an extra action, and can choose to apply the jailbroken benefits of that spell shape to the spell. Each programming language has an additional jailbreak bonus applied to a specific spell shape feat. After you cast the jailbroken spell, your gear is no longer overclocked, and you must still spend a focus point if you use jailbreak spell to cast a magic hack with the spell shape trait.
Don't know why.
So some of the focus spells are spell shapes. Okay. So it's a free action that expends your overclock
to do a
not even a spell shape. It just applies the spell shape to the effects of the next spell you cast. It doesn't have to be that your next action is. So you could double up on spell shapes with this. You jailbreak and then use a spell shape. Or no, I think that's folded into the spell shape trait, actually.
I'm about to say, if it did allow you to do that, that would be very fitting.
I'll double check
for being jailbroken.
Yeah, you must use a spell shape action directly before casting the spell you want to alter. It got folded into the trait.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But that's reasonable.
I'm about to say, it would be kind of fun if literally the jailbreak thing lets you do stuff that you don't normally do with spell shape.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we understand that, scroll back down again to DPS++. Your spell shape is Reach Spell. Whenever you cast a spell, you can use an action to overclock to reduce the circ bonus from cover. So you can just bypass cover more or less, which is quite good when cover is prevalent. You reduce range penalties, and you gain a circ bonus to weapon damage. And then here's the additional benefit for jailbreak spell shape. When you jailbreak spell, so the free action spell shape, to apply the signal boost to a spell that deals damage, to say like, I don't know, sudden bolt.
Yeah.
Whatever. So you get an extra 60 feet of range on sudden bolt, and it gains an item bonus to damage equal to the base weapon die of your weapon. So let's say you're holding a D8 weapon, plus 1d8 damage to one target of the spell. And you don't apply any modifiers to that damage. So it's just a bonus d8 to one person in the area.
That's free.
It's free, more or less. Definitely very complicated.
Yeah.
See if there's anything in here that needs particular attention. Full caster, progression, mediocre saves. And that's all. Okay. So yeah, let's see the other ones here. There's Fort Run. It began as the Abadar Corp standard for heat sinks, especially in hostile environments, and was quickly adopted as the universal language of armor, environmental protection, and satellite defense software. It's designed to minimize the possibility of potentially life-threatening errors that could cause the system to malfunction, and has endless applications for personal defense. Energy sink, active defense, firewall, and overclock armor. Denial of safety spell shape, which is if the next action you use is to cast a spell that has an area of whatever and does not have a duration, increase the area of that spell, and jailbreak adds it even larger.
Okay.
Big spell.
Big spell.
overclock boost when you cast a spell and then use an action. You can overclock armor to gain a +1 circumstance bonus to your AC until the beginning of your next turn. Ooh. And each time a hostile creature touches you or damages you with an unarmed melee attack or non-ranged melee weapon, it takes force damage equal to the rank of the spell. Ooh. And it's of the same type as the spell. This is not great.
I don't like how it only lasts for a round while the weapon one lasts for much longer. Because specifically...
I think it should last the full minute. Like the overclock... Like you're spending focus points or spell slots on this. And the weapon one set the precedent of it lasting a full minute. And I think it'll just feel bad if it doesn't. Because then it's 2 action cast a spell... 1 action overclock, and then it only lasts until my next turn. I already spent all 3 actions, and I have to do it again.
I think the thing that kind of sucks is
like this is shield, but you deal retaliation damage instead of getting shield block.
And like the overclock boost for weapon, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
like
and this is not
I think
great.
I think it should all just standardize as a minute, because using the boost for a jailbreak isn't exactly the best thing, but it does create a cycle where you want to cast a spell, overclock, then jailbreak on like the next turn to do like something kind of big. Like, for example, extra big fireball or extra damaging lightning bolt.
And then the jailbreak here is when you use it to apply the denial of safety spell shape to a spell that deals damage, you can use surplus energy to move yourself in any direction up to 1 square per rank of the spell, which is forced movement that does not trigger reactions. The origin of the spell and the area are selected before you move, and if the ability moves you out of the spell's area, you are not affected by the spell. Like, that's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
This should definitely last a minute.
Yeah, I think that should last a minute, and I think everything else is pretty cool. I actually kind of like that. Servo Shell. This programming language was originally developed by a thrifty university student building their own coffee-serving mini-bot. It's primarily used with an operating system that maximizes compatibility by converting all system checks between different proprietary software while routing driver keys to simulated virtual drones, which makes sure parts from different manufacturers and even other worlds will work with the same mini-bot. Increase in sales for individual components and non-profit status of the freeware have kept mini-bot companies from attempting to outlaw the software, and some companies have even adopted the controversial practice of anonymously leaking drivers on the infosphere. Signal relay, spell transfer protocol, and overclock minion. Incognito spell. Something you might like.
Which, let's see, is the subtle trait. And jailbreak lets you demoralize using Arcana.
That's actually kind of neat. I'm not gonna lie.
By making the effects of the spell seem effortless.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds like something you would like.
Maybe. And then the overclock, you can overclock a minion. Whenever you command an overclocked minion, you can additionally sustain a spell as a free action.
That's kind of cool.
That is very good. Sustain combined with command. Whew. When you jailbreak spell using the incognito mode spell shape, so you make it subtle and then you demoralize.
Yeah.
The spell manifests from one of your minions instead of yourself. Use the minion space to determine source range AoE, but line of sight and line of effect must be met from both. If spell has range of touch, the minion can deliver it. If you use incognito spell to demoralize, you choose a creature within range of the minion instead of yourself, but use your bonus.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not super into Animal Companion plus Caster, but it is a popular combo for a reason.
Yeah, and specifically having support for it is nice.
Viper.
I will say, as we have now read each one of these, I do like the little like modifications or like parodies of other programming languages, and it does make me, as stupid as it is, look forward to whenever they release more languages and seeing how else they parody.
I'm gonna play a Java Technomancer.
Yeah.
This programming language was originally developed by engineers working for the Aspis Consortium to standardize the manufacturing of hybrid items, especially spell chips and spell gems. Well, this code was made to help install multilingual hybrid magic items into replica antiques to sell across the galaxy. It's since been implemented as a high-level, general-purpose programming language thanks to its emphasis on code readability and multilinguistic compatibility.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Dynamic frequency scaling, log spell execution, and overclock lattice. Your spell shape is spell circuit, which is, if the next action used is to cast a spell from a spell ship or spell gem, you do not have to be holding the item.
I remember liking spell chips and spell gems.
So it's a spell shape that replaces the swap action.
Yeah. I think something that should be noted is that when you jailbreak, it becomes a free action. Which
Yeah,
is neat.
just like as an action on its own, that doesn't really do anything. And then it's jailbreak. If you use jailbreak spell to use this spell shape with a spell gem, you can pick another of your spell gems with an equal or higher item level that is consumed instead. Mm-hmm. So you can consume a different scroll.
Actually,
that one's kind of fire.
I'll be honest. Also, another thing is that with spell, whatchamacallit, you don't get fucked over by, like, let's say you're grabbed and you need to use a spell gem. You don't have to make an action to manipulate and an action to do the thing, where you had 2 chances and you now only have 1 chance. So there's still a use to it, even if you can't jailbreak it.
You can overclock a spell gem or spell chip. And when you do, you can hack other magic traditions. When you overclock a spell gem or spell chip with spells from another tradition, you can cast a spell using that item as a spell of the arcane tradition using your spell DC and attack rolls as normal.
Alright, I already like Viper a lot.
That's quite solid.
It's fun to me.
When you jailbreak spell using the spell circuit spell shape to cast a spell from a spell gem, you can draw the hybrid item as a free action and treat it as an electromag grenade with a level equal to or less than the level of the spell gem until the end of your next turn. If the spell dealt damage, the damage of the electromag grenade uses one type of damage the spell dealt instead of electricity. So you use jailbreak spell to do spell circuit to cast a spell from a spell gem that you're not holding. It lets you draw the item as a free action, and then it counts as an electromag grenade until the end of your next turn. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, you also have it in your hand, so you can just toss and then another spell.
It's particularly, like, you only need 1 scroll on you.
Yeah.
Because if you need multiple castings of it, you can just burn a different scroll.
Yeah.
And then you draw that one anyway. For the feats.
Counterspell.
Counterspell. Denial of Safety, which was the expand. Incognito. Programming Prodigy is magical shorthand.
Yeah, this is just weird.
Just wizard. Signal Boost, Spell Circuit. At 2nd level, there's Ammo Infector Virus.
I like it.
Strike with a ranged weapon. If your strike hits, you can combat hack the creature or an item they're holding or wielding. Cantrip Expansion. Gear Authentication. During daily prep, you can lock an item compatible with your programming language, so only you can use it unless they hack it. And you can teleport it to you. And it arrives worn on your body if it's armor.
Iron Man level type of shit, you know?
Sure. Safe mode spell is a spell shape action. Non-lethal. And if you jailbreak, you can make it an illusion that deals non-lethal mental. Switches it over to a will save. Or an attack roll against will DC.
I like that. I actually really like that.
Blam. As an action, if you're DPS++ or Viper, and you're holding a weapon and your last action was to cast a spell from a spell gem or spell chip, which seems to heavily incentivize Viper than over DPS++, but you can use the remains as ammo, reload a ranged weapon using the consumed item, and overclock gear. If the spell was not damaging, the weapon deals an extra d6 force and gains arcane and magical. If it dealt damage, it deals this type of damage instead. Sure. I mean, it's mainly it compresses overclock.
Yeah.
And a reload. Delete root access. If your next action is to cast delete, replace its target with one construct or tech creature. They become controlled by you if their level is equal to or lower than yours -3. You can attempt a will save to resist being controlled. And if you use jailbreak spell to use this spell shape, if the construct or tech creature succeeds at its save but doesn't crit, it's your minion for a round. If it fails for 10 minutes, if it crit fails, it's 24 hours. The fact that it's level -3 kind of kills it, but that's, that's
Fair.
how controlling effects work anyway.
Yeah.
Double spell shape. If your next action is to jailbreak spell, replace all jailbreak benefits of that spell shape with the following. If you use jailbreak spell to use this spell shape, you can also apply another Technomancer spell shape to the effects of the spell, but you do not gain that spell shape's jailbreak benefit. Okay, so use this action, then use free action jailbreak spell, which gives you the spell shape benefit and the normal benefits of a second spell shape.
So basically 2 normal spell shapes.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, seeing as this is the spell shape class, which, to be fair, I do really like spell shapes. It was something I really wish they did more of in Pathfinder 2e, so having a whole class revolved around it is honestly kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually kind of liking this class a lot more than I thought it would.
Yeah, it's pretty chill. Overclock focus. Once per day as a reaction when you cast a non-cantrip spell that is not jailbroken and your gear is overclocked. Regain a focus point. Sure. Spell protection protocol is an action. You or an ally within 30 feet gain a 5-foot aura that gives themselves and anyone they're allied with in the aura +1 status to saving throws against spells and effects with the magic trait, +3 against spells you cast. Lasts until the end of your next turn and you can sustain up to 3 rounds. Very
okay. Like, I think specifically...
I mean, being able to protect against spells is fine.
And it doesn't use, like, a focus spell or anything?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just something, you know?
Advanced magic hack for the next focus spell. Booming bootloader. As a free action, if your next action is to cast a spell with the summon trait, all creatures in a 10-foot emanation around... Oh, it's the exploding arrival.
Yeah.
And then if you jailbreak it, One creature of your choice within 10 feet must succeed at a will save against your spell DC or become frightened 1. Not super great.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the nature of a free action anyway.
And to be fair, if you're doing summons and you don't want the advanced focus spell, might as well get Booming Bootloader. It's literally just free damage on your summons.
If you're doing summons.
If you're doing summons.
Wink.
The mini-bot one was kind of summoner focus, so that would actually be kind of neato burrito.
Yeah. Hard Light Illusion. As an action, if your next action is to cast a spell with the illusion trait, creatures cannot attempt to disbelieve your illusion by merely touching or attempting to damage it, but they can still use Seek to examine it and attempt to disbelieve it. So they don't get the automatic ones.
Yeah.
They have to specifically know it's an illusion and try to make their way through it. Or like find something sus about it. When a creature succeeds, but not critically succeeds, at a perception check or will save to disbelieve the illusion, you can reprogram it as a reaction by attempting a computer's check against the target's perception DC. If you succeed, the target fails to disbelieve the illusion.
The type of shit you would use on me as a GM.
If you use Jailbreak spell to use this spell shape and modify an illusion spell that deals mental damage, that spell deals another appropriate type instead of mental. It doesn't need to be non-lethal. It can deactivate regeneration and otherwise functions like normal damage. I do quite like this. I also like that it is like confirming that at least whoever wrote this feat also understands that illusions, like someone trying to attack them or touch them, counts as a disbelieve check. But like they don't get to just go through it.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't...
Yeah, adding it.
This wouldn't be a benefit if they could just stride through it. Overclock spell database. As a reaction once a day, when you cast a non-cantrip spell not modified by Jailbreak spell and your gear is overclocked, you can cast a spell directly from your spell cache up to the same rank as the triggering spell without using a spell slot. Pretty good. That's an extra max rank slot. But only from your cache. Pirate spell.
You wouldn't download a spell, would you?
When you successfully use counterspell to counteract a spell that affects targeted creatures or an area, you can install a temporary copy into your spell cache. It lasts until you download a spell to replace a prepared spell with a temporary copy, or your next daily prep, whichever comes first. White Hat Hack. As a free action, when you cast a non-cantrip spell not modified by Jailbreak and your gear is overclocked, use the magic energy of the last spell you cast to reduce the glitching condition by half the spell's rank of up to one tech creature or tech item within 100 feet for every rank of the triggering spell. For the next minute, affected targets roll flat checks to recover from the glitching condition twice and take the higher result. This is a fortune effect. So it reduces... So you cast a spell while your gear is overclocked. You use a free action. And then a tech creature or tech item within 100 feet.
Per rank.
God. Alright. It's a little much with the glitching.
Yeah.
Backup spell. 1 to 3 actions once an hour. 3 actions spell shape goes hard. Regain an expended spell slot at least 2 ranks lower than your highest rank and takes 1, 2, or 3 actions to cast. You then immediately cast a cached spell that can be cast using that slot. The number of actions required for a backup spell is equal to the action cost of the spell cast. But then you're stupefied 3, all your tech gear is glitching 3.
Oh, goodness.
if you jailbreak... You should blow your nose. If you use jailbreak spell to use the spell shape, tech gear you attempt to use until the end of your next turn isn't glitching 3.
Amazing, isn't it?
I mean, alright. Once per hour, regaining a spell slot and then casting a cached spell is pretty good.
Though, to be fair with the cash spells, is that it is 1 spell per spell rank. So it has the wizard negative of just...
Yeah, no scaling or anything like
No
that.
scaling.
Not signature.
No signature. Don't know if it's even decent.
I think some of them were definitely not super applicable.
There's always going to be the problem with spells that are explicitly given, is that you're going to end up with a lot of times where it just isn't good.
Yeah, 6th rank dominate, which becomes useless by 2 levels later because you can't heighten it. That is a shame.
Yeah.
I almost, like, I want to reread spell cache real quick, but I know that it's not going to let you upcast or anything.
Yeah, because it's like wizard. Like Hizzard. The one negative they had about wizard that I thought was...
You can't even use download spell to switch it in. It only lets it swap in for same rank or lower. So the dominate can't be brought in to 7th rank or above.
Which kind of blows. Like, that does kill it a little bit for me for this class.
Or I think it's actually just worded kind of strangely. Because it says it up here, but then the mechanical text is down here, but this reads like mechanical text too. I think it's actually, it does work. It's select one of your prepared non-cantrip spells that has not been expended. The spell slot is emptied and one of your cache spells is instantly prepared in its place, heightened to the slot it fills. It's just that the first sentence is you overwrite one of your prepared spells with one of the spells in your spell cache of the same rank or lower, which sounds like you wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
But I think that's just flavor text.
Though it can heighten. That's better, but
yeah.
It's still...
Just this can't.
Yeah.
Or can it? Oh, I can. Cool. Okay, that's helpful. Moving on, cross-platform application. Learn the initial magic hack of a language other than yours. Grenade spell. If you're holding a grenade, if your next action is to cast a spell with a burst that requires a reflex save, it doesn't immediately take effect but is installed into the held grenade. Until the end of your next turn, any creatures caught in the area of fire of the grenade are also affected by the installed spell, using the same result they rolled against the grenade. If you use jailbreak spell to use the spell shape, you can install any spell into a grenade. In that case, creatures roll a separate saving throw against your spell DC if it's not a reflex save. If you apply the effects of the spell shape to a spell with a basic reflex save, you can use your spell DC instead of your class DC for the grenade.
That is fun.
Any spell.
Any spell.
Self-only spells? Just like, I'm thinking of abuse cases where it's effects that they can't save against.
Yeah.
Oh, how fun.
Oh.
Anyway. Spell library. During your daily prep, you can add one spell of each rank you know to your spell cache until your next daily prep.
That's good.
That's very good.
Like, that 100%.
That's just, that gives, because you have the once per 10 minutes bring in a different spell, and the once per hour cast a lower rank spell.
Yeah.
Spell library expanding out the amount of spells you can switch and having it be totally custom. That's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, fitting for The Technomancer class.
Only level 8, too.
Yeah.
Split tunneling as an action. If your next action is to cast a spell without a duration that requires an attack roll against a single target, choose a second target within range. Single attack versus both ACs. Second target takes only half damage for degree of success and has no effects beyond the damage. If you use Jailbreak spell to use it and fail to affect your primary target, your secondary target becomes your primary target, taking full effects.
That's cool.
Sure. Compressed casting, once per day is a free action. Yeah, it's a quicken spell. But Jailbreak. If you use Jailbreak spell to use this spell shape using the double spell shape feat. Jailbreak spell. Okay, so you would do Jailbreak spell, double spell shape, then use this. You can apply both this Jailbreak benefit and the other spell shape's original Jailbreak benefit. Okay, so with this one, free action, double spell shape, Jailbroken, which then lets you choose 2 spell shapes. They would usually just get their base effects. Here, you choose one of them to be compressed casting, so you get fewer action cost. And you get this Jailbreak benefit, which is to get the other spell shape's Jailbreak benefit. That's fun. God.
Double Jailbreak.
Double Jailbreak. Once every 10 minutes. If your next action is to Jailbreak spell, replace all Jailbreak benefits of that spell shape with the following. Oh, if you use Jailbreaks, so use double Jailbreak as an action, use Jailbreak spell as a free action, you get the spell shape effects of the spell, and you get another Technomancer spell shape and its Jailbreak benefits. So you get a normal spell shape, a second spell shape, and its Jailbreak.
So you could double Jailbreak into double spell shape into the quickened one plus something else, and then just get another one to get.
Okay. So yeah, okay. So we use double Jailbreak up here once every 10 minutes. Our next action is Jailbreak a spell.
Yeah.
Which is going to get its normal spell shape effect.
Yeah.
But no Jailbreak.
Yeah.
Because that Jailbreak is replaced with... You can apply another Technomancer spell shape and its Jailbreak benefits. So this Jailbreak is giving you a spell shape which gets its Jailbreak. What was the right? I'm lost. I'm lost in the sauce. Okay. Double Jailbreak.
Yeah.
Into Jailbreak spell, which is giving you benefit. I guess this would be spell shape, and then it doesn't get its Jailbreak because it's getting this Jailbreak, which is giving you a spell shape which if we make that quicken casting up here,
Yeah.
then quicken casting's jailbreak applies since you're doing it with... No, because that's only if you use double spell shape. Okay, cool. There's no cascading going on here. You can't double jailbreak into double spell shape. Oh. Okay, yeah, we're fine. We're chilling.
Okay.
We're cool.
Okay.
Alright. Greater magic hack for the third focus spell. Overvolt Resistor. If the next action used is to cast a spell, it ignores an amount of resistance to energy equal to level. If you jailbreak it, you deal damage equal to your level even if the target is immune.
Yay!
Soft Reboot. As a reaction, once an hour, when you jailbreak spell and your gear is no longer overclocked, your gear becomes overclocked. Advanced Cross-Platform Application, which has 3 prerequisites. Advanced Magic Hack, Cross-Platform Application, and Greater Magic Hack. Learn the Advanced Magic Hack of the same programming language as the Magic Hack you learned with Cross-Platform Application.
Yay!
Cool. Clever Counterspell. Yeah. Liminal Hyperlink, which is its own magic hack you just pick up as a feat. Or Reactive Firewall. Once an hour when your gear is overclocked as a reaction, the attacker must roll its attack roll a second time and take the lower result. That's a requirement. I think it's missing the trigger.
Yeah.
And the trigger is when someone
attacks
you or hurts you.
Yeah.
14th level, Debug Spell. Woo! If your next action is to cast a spell that deals damage, any die you roll for damage that has a result lower than 2 becomes 2 instead. So 1s become 2s.
Yeah.
Jailbreak, 1s and 2s become 3s.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. Reflect Spell.
Funnily enough, that if you jailbreak, like if you do debug spell with magic missile, you can, instead of potentially getting like bad results, you'll get at best average, at worst average.
At worst above average.
Yeah. Yay, above average.
Reflect Spell with Counter Spell. Yep. Sleep Mode. Once a day when you roll for initiative as a free action, your gear becomes overclocked. Tashtari Cluster. You can have 2 pieces of overclocked gear at once, and you choose which gear is no longer overclocked the next time you use Jailbreak Spell.
Yay.
I do want to say this Sleep Mode with the... especially once per day.
Yeah.
This does not scream
14.
Not even level 14. This just doesn't scream usable to me, because it's any spell that isn't a cantrip can be used to overclock your stuff.
Yeah.
So this being resource based as a once per day instead of like time based, like once per 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Is just kind of weird.
If it was once per 10 minutes, I feel like it would be pretty useful, but once a day sucks.
Yeah. Because it's not saving you spell slots.
Yeah.
It's saving you 1 action in a combat for minimal effect.
Like, I can see some spell shapes being used, like jailbroken spell shapes being used at the beginning of combat could be pretty good. You know, like, if you jailbreak...
Not once per day good, though.
Yeah, not once per day good.
Master Code Cracker. Prerequisites, double jailbreak. You can apply the original jailbreak benefits in addition to the jailbreak benefits of spells you modify with double jailbreak. Cool. So that makes double jailbreak, you get 2 effects and 2 jailbreak effects. Coin Relay. As a free action, when your turn begins, you sustain. Yep. Shatter spell. If the next action you use is to cast Dispel Magic and you successfully counteract the target, one creature of your choice occupying the same space as the spell effect or magic item takes force damage equal to a d4 times the target's counteract rank with a basic reflex save against your spell DC. If the target has a trait corresponding to a type of damage, it deals that instead. And if you jailbreak it, you can choose to deal damage to every creature in the area or adjacent to the item, or you can deal a d6 times the counteract rank.
I like how technically there's a different damage distribution since it's times the level instead of the amount of dice.
I either deal 10, 20, 30, or 40 damage.
Yeah.
I like that you can cast a spell with a range of planetary and then cast this on it and kill everyone on the planet. Because it's specifically if you jailbreak it, every creature in the area of the spell effect, if it's a planetary effect,
and everyone takes 1d6 times however
and you're at level 15, 16, but 15 for the rank would be rank 8 spells, I want to say.
Yeah.
Which means 1d4 times 8, anywhere from 8 to 32 damage planetary. You just kill all small animals.
Bye-bye all the squeals.
Real. Spellshape modder. As a free action once every 10 minutes when your turn begins. Until the end of your turn, you gain a single spellshape feat from the Technomancer class. It has a level requirement of more than half of your level, and you cannot apply the jailbreak benefit of it.
That's kind of sad.
Wow.
Speed
run. You gain the speedrun magic hack.
Alright.
Pseudo spell.
Yo.
You time the components of your spell with ultra precision, setting up a resonance that duplicates its effects. If you cast a spell of 4th rank or lower that has no duration, you can cast it a second time before the end of your next turn for free. Jailbreak lets you do 5th rank or lower. Vigilant Administrator. Extra reaction only for counter spell. Auto spellshape. Spellshape are free actions.
Oh.
Huh. God mode. Once every 10 minutes, as an action, you can use 3 Technomancer spellshape feats as free actions and apply all of them to the next spell. And you can apply a 4th one using jailbreak spell that you can only apply the jailbreak benefit of up to 2. God. And root access for a second 10th slot.
Yeah.
Alright, here are the magic hacks. DPS++ gets... Oh, these are also largely spell shapes. Okay, thermoelectric phase change is a spell shape. If you cast a spell with no duration with an elemental trait that deals 1 type of damage, switch it out. If you jailbreak, each creature who rolls a crit fail against a save or was crit hit by an attack roll takes a d6 persistent of the same type. Doesn't get heightened at all.
Oh, goodness.
Virtualized data transmission. At level 6, you can pick up a feat. If you're wielding a ranged weapon with the tech trait, if your next action is to cast a spell with a range in area, you teleport yourself and your gear to one open space within the spell's area before or after the spell takes effect. If you jailbreak, and it targets a single creature, you can teleport to any open space within range. And at level 10, you can pick up Overclock Brain to become quickened for a minute to strike as an action. Fort Run gets energy sink. If your next action is to cast a spell that deals a type of energy damage, you gain resistance to an energy damage type of your choice equal to twice the spell's rank for a minute, regardless of whether or not the spell dealt damage. If you jailbreak, it's resistance to all energy damage equal to twice the spell's rank. That's quite good.
Yeah, I mean, also level 1, so that's also kind of nice.
Yeah. Active Defense Firewall. As an action, if your next action is to cast a spell with a hostile effect that targets one creature, you store the spell in your armor instead. It lasts until your next daily prep. You can only store one spell in that way. And you can't cast it while you're under the effect of it. When a creature touches or damages you with an unarmed melee attack, blah blah blah, you can cast a spell as a reaction targeting the triggering creature, and they're off guard against it. And only they're affected by it. You can dismiss it. And the slot is recovered, but the spell is not. And the empty spell slot can be used to prepare a spell with download spell. Overclock Armor. For a minute, you gain a superior force field and become immune for 10 minutes. And it heightens. Sure.
Yay!
Servo Shell. As an action, when you have line of effect to a tech minion under your control, if the next action uses to cast a spell that affects only you, it affects your minion instead. If you jailbreak it with a harmless spell, it affects the minion in addition to its original target.
That's actually kind of cool. It lets you duplicate buff spells. Kind of nice.
Yeah. Hardlight Simulacrum. As a free action, if the next action uses to cast a spell that has the summon trait, you summon a Hardlight Simulacrum, which uses the same stats, except it also has the construct and tech traits, resistance equal to its level to physical damage, except Ghost Killer, and immunity to bleed, death, disease, doom, drain, fatigue, healing, non-lethal, paralyzed, poison, sicken, spirit, unconscious, vitality, void. It loses any abilities and the ability to cast any spells with those traits, or that confer those conditions. And if you jailbreak it, you can overclock gear the summoned creature as a free action immediately. And overclock Minion. Level 10, a minion you control within 120 feet for a minute becomes quickened and can use it to stride or strike. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Viper gets dynamic frequency scaling as an action. If your next action is to cast a spell from a spell gem, instead of being destroyed, it becomes a temporary item that can't be sold and lasts until you use it again the next time you make your daily prep. So you can cast the spell from it again, and that destroys it. And if you jailbreak it, it only becomes broken on a critical failure.
That's cool.
Critical failure on what?
Yeah, no. Are spell gems more like wands, or are they more like scrolls?
Pretty sure the spell gems were scrolls, and spell chips were the wands.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because if it was...
Because the other thing is, like, if it were a wand, this is worse than what wands have.
Yeah.
I don't know what on a critical failure means then.
I think probably the original writing was focused on spell chips instead of spell gems, but they didn't change the jailbreak.
Log spell execution. As an action, if your next action is to cast a spell from a spell chip or spell gem, add the spell to your spell cache until you use download spell to replace a prepared spell with the log spell. Spell. Or the next time you cast log spell execution, you can only use this spell shape to log spells that appear on the arcane list.
Pretty cool. I actually kind of like that. You just add it to your list.
Yeah. So it gets you basically a second casting but only from your cache. And if you jailbreak it, you can log a spell of any tradition as an arcane spell, but you must use the overclock gear effect of the Viper programming language or get a success using trick magic item.
Cool.
Alright. Overclock lattice as an action when you cast a spell by activating a spell chip or spell gem. Heighten the spell up to 2 ranks lower than the highest rank spell slot you have.
Oh,
that's pretty good.
That's really good.
And if you use Jailbreak Spell to use this spell shape, you can heighten the spell up to the same rank as the spell you cast to overclock your gear. This lasts for a minute. Oh, that's really good. Me when I carry around like a bajillion rank 3 scrolls.
Yeah.
I cast 1 rank 10 spell.
Mm-hmm.
And then use overclock.
Yeah.
And then I jailbreak overclock lattice to activate a rank 1 scroll, and it's heightened to 10th rank.
Yeah.
And in fact, all of the scrolls that I cast in the next minute are heightened to 10th rank.
It's kind of weird that it's a...
Yeah, this isn't a spell shape. This is a duration effect.
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
And then the other magic hacks. There's liminal hyperlink. 2 action with range 100 feet. Duration round sustained up to a minute. Create 2 hyperlinks in unoccupied squares in line of effect that are at least 15 feet apart. When a creature enters a hyperlink space, they emerge in an unoccupied space of their choice adjacent to the other one. If they aren't flying, they treat all spaces lacking solid ground as occupied. There's no valid space, both hyperlinks collapse, and the creature remains in the space it entered. Speedrun. You become a flickering echo, clipping through the normal parameters of reality. Resistance 10 to all damage except force, cosmic, and incorporeal traits, so you can phase through walls and move through air as easily as walking. You can move through enemy squares unless they're incorporeal, though your movement still triggers reactions. And if your gear is overclocked, you can extend its duration an additional round by making your gear no longer overclocked.
Just backward long jump through the combat encounter, you know?
Alright. That's it. Thoughts on Technomancer?
It seems like reading the text the first time, at least all the stuff it introduces, it is pretty complicated, but now that we've gone through it a few times, it seems parsable. I will admit, I think a part of the flavor for this class is the complexity of it, with the spell shapes and how you can do multiple spell shapes onto the same thing. I think, honestly, it's pretty funny. I like it a considerable amount. I enjoy the programming languages. I like how it's a parody, of course. But I do like how they interact with their set spell shapes.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish there was maybe more with that for like other spell shapes, because having it only be one is a bit meh. Okay, vehicle. But I think specifically, I like what they can do with the programming languages, like the Viper one being all about spell chips and spell gems. That's been something I've been wanting in Pathfinder with like wands and scrolls. We got scrolls with Someters, but we never got anything with wands. This fills that similar niche of a wand spellcaster that I've been wanting for like a good long while now.
Mm-hmm.
So having that is actually very, very nice to me. Other than that, I like how there's a lot of spell shapes. I think having almost all their feats be spell shapes, maybe a bit too much. But I don't hate it.
Yeah, I was when I was reading through it, I was kind of like, I don't know, I was in a weird spot because it's a class that's definitely... I feel like the overclock benefits themselves are not enough for the class to want to utilize them, really.
Yeah.
Like, weapon specifically was pretty decent, but, like, you know, armor wasn't. And either way, because the entire, like, loop is cast a spell, overclock your stuff, but then spend that for super elaborate spell shape, like, cascades. You know, it feels like there needs to be more incentive maybe to keep the overclocks up.
Yeah.
But I definitely did enjoy the overclock and jailbreak complexity. Not a big fan of the fact that the focus spells are not granted, and also not a big fan of the fact that they basically don't have many feats that aren't either spell shapes or counter spell.
Yeah.
So it makes it feel like it's very much just spell shape the class, which is not entirely how I would imagine a Technomancer to be. It's still very interesting. I like it. I want to play around with it. I think it'll definitely be difficult to get used to at a table. Like, you'll have to get used to all the different options you have available and how fully you can take advantage of them. And then the fact as well that a lot of the focus spells are one action spell shapes means that you can use them to overclock. Get down here. One action spell shapes. So yeah, you would... I guess it would be wasted though, because the spell shapes, you do one action focus spell and then you can immediately overclock and then the spell shape fizzles, or you actually cast a spell with the spell shape and you don't have the actions to overclock.
Yeah.
It's very awkward.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. But to hit your point about the spell shape maybe not feeling like a Technomancer, I think the idea of a Technomancer modifying spells heavily fits the idea, at least in my head, of a programmer-esque, spellcaster. At least in my head, because it's all about editing what's already there a lot of times.
I guess the bigger thing would be, like, it's that they don't emphasize on it enough. Like, I already kind of said it, is the fact that they don't really reward interacting with your stuff all that much. It's just kind of a conduit and a pacing mechanism to restrict you from using the spell shapes. Which is also kind of backed up, I think, by the fact that basically all of these are, the first two are spell shapes and the last one is a focus spell. So spell shape, focus spell, spell shape, focus spell, spell shape, focus spell, and then spell shape for Viper.
Yeah.
Which means that all of them are waiting until level 10 until they can resourcelessly overclock. Unless they want to just fizzle a spell shape.
Yeah, which is rough.
I don't know. It's an interesting class nonetheless.
I think I like the idea of it being spell shape focused, but I think it's kind of weird as it is to really say it, I think it is. I think it has too many spell shapes for its base chassis, where it has to keep using spell shapes. Now, of course, spellcasters, they use spells, so that's a whole aspect we're not really looking at too deeply. Else, we would be really just making characters at that point. But also, I can see how so many of these things are just spell shapes, to the point where there's not much else. It's cool, but like you said, it runs into a tempo problem. I will say I do like the spending overclock to jailbreak a spell shape to make it a free action.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that a lot.
It is also interesting for a class that's so tied to just spells.
Mm-hmm.
Like, basically all of its class feats are spell-based to only be a 3-slot class.
Yeah.
Like, the only... it has a couple of feats that can kind of expand the amount of slots that it has. Specifically in, like... where is it? Backup spell. This is the big one where once an hour you can just take a spell and cast it for free. But like, I don't know, 3 slots for a class that is just its spells.
Especially since the other spellcasters are 4 slots, period.
Yeah. And especially as well because, like, even the non-caster benefits require spells.
Yeah.
Like, you need to cast, a 5th rank slot when you're at level 9 here to get that +5 circ bonus to your gun damage.
That's honestly why I think Viper's gonna be the better one, because you can supplement that fact using scrolls.
Yeah.
Like, majorly so. I think Viper truly is the best one out of all of them. But I think
it definitely
biased.
has some advantages.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I'm tapped out. How about you?
I don't know. I think we can go like another few hours. We can talk
Another
about more.
3 hours?
Yeah, another 3 hours makes it a full podcast.
Yeah. Alright. Thanks everyone for watching or listening along. Leave a like if you like the video. Subscribe if you would like to see more. And I will see you next time. See ya.
See ya.
Thank you to my coffee supporters, donating at the monthly few bucks support tier. We have Max Magnus, 20,019, Streggy, Taran, Phoenix FH, and Kizo. Thank you so much.